Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Yay indeed, Jimmie. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us on another edition of Crime and Sports. We are back, batteries charged after a week off of Crime and Sports for holiday things, and we usually take Christmas off Crime and Sports because it's just nobody's listening anyway that week, so what the hell. And we charge up. It helps us come back for more. And another thing, everybody, there's a limited number of criminal athletes, so every time if we take a couple weeks off a year, what we're doing is saving. That's more time for later. And anyway, so thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to be back. We have a really interesting episode today. It's crazy, funny, and interesting, and there's a drop of positivity to this one. We're going to have a little bit of holiday uplifting, but
terrific.
After much crack and, things like that, it's going to plenty of scumbaggery will be happening, but then we'll have a little bit of a positive spin to it, which we don't get often. So that's the thing. We've had about 4 of those in almost 300 episodes. So let's add to the pile here. It'll be very, very nice. Before we get to that, though, just want to thank everybody for everything you've done for us. We do appreciate it. Everything over the whole year. Thank you for your reviews, first of all. If you haven't done that, get on that. Spotify, you can now review on. So
that's wild.
They let you give stars finally on Spotify.
Thanks,
so if
Spotify.
Do that. Hit us up there. It really does help us out a lot. So if you listen on Spotify, go ahead and click on that right now, and there you go. Okay, good. You did it. Thank you. We appreciate that. There you go. So that said, also, shutupandgivememurder.com right now. Get all of your merchandise, tickets to live shows throughout the year. That's the home base. Get everything you want there. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all the bonus stuff, and there's so much bonus stuff. All the back catalog. This last week, because it was literally Christmas Day, we took this Patreon off. Also, I don't know if everybody here listens to Small Town Murder and don't know if you know, but Italian Grandma died. So she did. She passed away right before that, like when we were going to record it.
2 days before Christmas.
2 days before Christmas, yeah. So that was kind of tough. So we had our first non-Italian grandma Christmas, but, we did it up for her with the food and all that sort of thing. Sarah really, she went all out and made a sauce that Italian grandma would have been proud of. So thank you for that.
That's great.
So we didn't have Patreon this week, but there will be Patreon again 2 weeks from now, obviously, and then forever. You're always going to get Patreon, huge back catalog, patreon.com/crime and sports, and you're going to get a shout out at the end of the show.
Right.
Jimmie will mispronounce your name while trying hard to pronounce it correctly, which is always amusing. That's worth $5 right there. So anybody above the $5 or above, you're going to get access to all the shows, everything we do on Patreon for Crime and Sports and Small Town Murder. So also, if you just want to make a donation, and of course, get the mispronounced shout out, which is a commodity that you have to have.
Especially anything 7 letters or above.
Forget it. And if it's Italian, it won't even be close. You might not recognize it.
Yeah.
I'll try to help Jimmie out, and maybe you'll recognize it, but just try to find your name. That's the game you can play. And the entry fee, $5 for that. PayPal, you can do it using our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com. That said, let's get into this.
All right.
Let's do it because it's a crazy episode. So let's have some fun with James Caron Butler. I didn't know his first name was James.
Dropped James, huh?
Dropped the James for Caron. So there you go. Caron Butler, basketball player, if you don't know who he is. He what an interesting life this guy's had. He really
Very good
has.
basketball player. Jesus.
Oh, he's a great player. Yeah, Caron played for a long time.
Yeah.
All-star, champion. He's done a lot in his career, so good for him. He's born March 13th, 1980.
Oh.
There you go. I thought it was later than that, but that's fine.
He and I are nearly the exact same age. That's wild.
Yeah, born March 13th, 1980. Grace. So there you go.
Good morning.
There you go. Grace. Enjoy.
It's a big day.
That's it. I mean, that was pretty much it for him. They were like, well, downhill from here, pal.
Oh, shit.
Because things were rough for him after that. And then he's going to have rebirths and the whole deal. So he's a very interesting guy. This is almost like an upside down crime in sports. You know, normally they get a huge head and too much money and start acting above the law. This is the opposite. This is... Once he gets money, he's like, I got a lot to lose. I'm not fucking around anymore. Very interesting. So he's from Racine, Wisconsin. That's
really
where he's from. Oh, absolutely. He's all sorts of Racine, Wisconsin. I didn't realize I knew he had, I always heard that Caron Butler had a tough upbringing and everything like that, but not quite to this extent that we'll get into here. This is pretty wild. His mom is like 14, maybe just turned 15 when he's born. So,
is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is that's right away. That's a tough start right there.
Yeah.
So I guess his dad went off to join the Marines, and that was that. Never really was in too much of contact with him.
It sounds like a story from 1962. This is 1980?
This is 1980. Whenever I read his story, I keep having to tell myself.
Yeah.
While I was doing this,
color.
I had to tell myself this isn't like, some kid in a cotton field in Mississippi, because I only say that because that's the first thing we're going to talk about is a chapter of his book called, quote, My Roots, the Cotton Fields of Mississippi. That's the only reason why I used cotton fields of Mississippi, because that's where he's saying. This is the 1980, for Christ's sake. This is very interesting here. A lot of this that from his background we're going to take right from his book, because he is excessively and exceedingly honest. He's very honest. He's the type of guy that, because of how his life developed later, he can be 100% honest, and it's actually in his benefit to just be honest about it. There's no sugarcoating, won't get him anywhere. So he says it the way it is, and it's really an interesting read. It's called Tuff Juice, which is Tuff Juice, which is what a coach nicknamed him at one point.
Really?
So Tuff Juice, my journey from the streets to the NBA. And it's fucking interesting. It really is. So that's the thing about Caron, too. He's one of these players that I really like his style. And these players don't exist anymore, by the way, because all the guys in the NBA now are in these crazy AAU leagues and all this shit from the time they can dribble a basketball. So it's not like it used to be, where you could get a guy who was kind of came up, fashioned his game on playgrounds and had a street style, and then was brought into an organized way and mixed that in, so he knew all the fundamentals, all the plays, and also had kind of a cool, flashy street style.
Had some flair.
You had your Kenny Andersons and all those guys, a lot of New York guys, even like Chris Mullen. You'd go, oh, he looks like such a dork, but he's like a New York City playground guy. So he had a different kind of game than he looked. He had like that flat top and dork. He looked like he was from Air
Force captain.
Yeah, he looked like he lived down the street from Larry Bird, where he grew up, but no, when you hear him talk, he's like, so we was playing in the playground the whole time. Like, you're like, Chris Mullen, what the fuck? You don't look like you sound like that.
Right.
You don't look like you sound like my uncle. What's going on here? So, background on his family. Because you're going to hear about his childhood, and you're like, how the fuck does this even occur? And now we have like a background of how this occurs. And his rough childhood and where they were was actually a step in the right direction from where they came from. It was a step, up, actually. Columbus, Mississippi is where his family's from.
My word. Yeah,
and he says that there's a lot of people in the area he was from. It's all they're all farmers, everyone in his family. They're, doing all of that. And he said that it was called Catfish Alley, this area. It's between three rivers, the Tombigbee, the Buttahatchee. Okay.
What?
And the Luxapali, the Buttahatchee. It's going to hatch out of your butt.
Luxapali. Which one's more southern?
Luxapalalia. Wow. That's a lot. So anyway, Jesus Christ. He talks about his grandmother a lot. His grandmother here, his great-grandmother had 23 kids. So his grandmother was one of 23.
Jesus.
I don't even know how you physically do that.
His grandmother had 23 children.
Great-grandmother, 23 children.
Her house was literally called 23andMe.
23andMe. She invented 23andMe.
That is unbelievable.
23.
How do you have that? 23 times 9 is like... That's
it's a lot.
What is that?
It's pregnant from the time you can get
400
pregnant.
months of pregnant?
It's pregnant from the time you can get pregnant until the time where you can't, pretty much.
You die.
There's no time off. No time off whatsoever.
That woman had whatever meal she had prenatals with it every day.
For her whole, that's so
That's
rough.
so long.
I mean, back then you figure, 10 of them will die, so you got to pump a bunch out. But still, to pump 23 kids out is a fucking spectacle.
To be pregnant, people have served less time for murder than she was pregnant.
That's a worse sentence too.
Yeah,
I sentence you to be pregnant 23 times. I'd be like, fuck, just put me in the chair, man. Put me in the chair 23 times.
100 months.
Oh, my God. They're just going to be walking out by the time we're done here.
Isn't that long?
It's a shitload. 20 times 9.
23 times 9 is, I swear that's 400.
Well, 20 times 10 is 200. First of all, 20 times 10 is 200.
It's still way too long.
It's a lot. It's a lot of months. So they have a lot of family. So right away he said, like, he's got family everywhere, and because 23 kids will then make more kids and more kids.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you have 600 cousins. That's how it works. So
holy fuck.
That's how it is. So you had to have a lot of kids back then. My grandmother's like one of 10. It's just the way it was back then. Yeah, the way it was, especially if you're growing something or there's any kind of work to be done.
It's literally playing the odds, and that's playing the lottery and seeing if your shit will come in.
Yeah, his great-grandmother was 13th out of 23.
Wow. So
that is goddamn wild. So his grandmother worked in the cotton fields, and he said that she had nobody to watch her babies when she had babies, and she'd have to work in the field. So she put the kids on a quilt by the gate that led out to the cotton field. She just kind of laid them out there, like, I'm going to be in the field, kids, because there's nobody to watch the kids.
Laying down a blanket at the door of your job and then just going in.
Just be like, see you in 8 hours.
Out the door from time to time.
I got 15 for lunch. I'll see you then, kids. Have a good one. High five when you walk inside.
Shit.
So she said that she would constantly poke up her head to look around to make sure that no snakes had slithered in to attack the babies. That's a hazard when you have snakes around. She remembered... I guess they said that there was just kind of a lot of people lived there. They had a big potbelly stove, and that was kind of the centerpiece of the house. Yeah. And at one point, apparently, his grandfather apparently would beat on the grandmother a lot. Like, very common that she would beat her up a lot, and. Apparently, after a while, she got tired of it, and she started talking about getting a gun to protect herself against him. And she finally went to her daughter, who is Caron's mother, and said, I'm thinking about hurting him. I'm thinking about ending this right now. And so at that point, her mother told her, no, you got to get out of here. Leave. This is a bad thing. You have to leave. We don't want you. You're going to end up in prison everywhere. Another thing. So she packs up, his grandmother packs up the kids and heads off to Racine, Wisconsin. where everybody
Right.
where everybody goes when you need to get away. Racine, Wisconsin.
That's where Kit Keller went and won the fucking championship, James.
I guess so. She did go to Racine. Yeah, that's a shame. I always feel like the Peaches could have had a dynasty, and I feel like it was broken up prematurely. That's always sad when you have something like that.
You lose your starting pitcher.
You lose the starter. There was a certain spark there. I feel like the catcher pitcher relationship was it was something. I feel like they really shit the bed on that one. Could have changed the outcome of the whole league. Is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That little catcher over in Racine, though, was bitchier than Dottie was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She was just as bitchy. So I don't understand what the problem was with Dottie. At least Dottie
literally the same
knows
thing.
your pitches.
Minus Betty Spaghetti.
Dottie knows your pitches. Dottie knows what's up. And let's face it, Dottie was right. Dottie was right when she said she's got nothing. Her arms, it's just a limp piece of spaghetti. It's because she knew. She's seen Kit. She knows. God damn it.
Goddamn mule.
Fucking nag, taking that shit. What is up with that? I'm very upset with that. I'd like to explore.
I literally can't hear a town in Wisconsin now without thinking about that fucking movie.
Any of these
Kenosha,
Midwestern towns.
South Bend's in Indiana. Isn't
Rockford, Indiana, all these places, all these Midwestern towns, all this shit. God, I'd like to do an in-depth, let's should do this as a bonus episode sometime, an in-depth analysis of the baseball strategy behind A League of Their Own in that game. I feel like different decisions could have been made, and maybe Tom Hanks is getting too much credit for his coaching prowess. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe we go through the real estate listings of Kenosha, South Bend, Rockford, and Racine.
Maybe we should. Was
there only 4 teams? I think there was only 4 teams.
6. I think there was 6. Maybe 6, maybe 4. Who the fuck knows? I mean, I could see it being 4 back then. They're like, I don't know. Let's just have these broads playing each other every other day. What's the
doctor from Look Who's Talking rattled them off really fast.
That's true. Yeah,
when the chick that couldn't read was looking at the sheets. He read them real fast.
He did, and she was like, oh, shit, that didn't help.
Can you say those slower?
Slower and with more reading?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll rub off on me. So apparently one of his uncles was there, and so he had some family there. His uncle Eugene Thornton was the first one there. He left. Apparently, the way Caron puts it, the law was after him, and so he ran. He broke north, basically. And he says, according to family lore, he was, quote, sleeping with too many white women in the early 60s in Mississippi. And he, that got...
broke out. Smart move.
He took off, and he said he didn't have money. He took a bus, and... he took a bus there because that's all he could afford. He said the police, they were looking for, there was a warrants for him, so they were looking for him, but they were looking for a young black man, not a young black woman. So what he did
way.
He put on, in 1965, Uncle Eugene put on a wig and a dress and some nylons and went on, took the bus to Racine.
Yeah.
So that's...
Mrs. Doubtfired it.
That's
I love it.
That's how he did it. So...
That's genius.
Yep. So that's the family lore. He said, I don't know how much truth is behind it, but that's how it's always told. So there you go.
Listen, I'll never think twice. That is exactly what happened.
I think that's exactly what happened. Uncle Eugene, good job. You got out. Good for you. So at some point, though, Grandma's in Mississippi. Things are going better. And then one day, about 2 years into this Wisconsin adventure, Grandpa showed back up again. And he wanted her to come back to Mississippi with him. He was like, this is, it's gotten out of hand. So she said, I'm not going back to fucking Mississippi with you so you can beat me up and I can pick cotton. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not doing that shit. So he pulled out a gun and shot a bullet through the front door of the house. So no one was standing in front of it, luckily, or got killed or anything. So apparently the cops got called. And when the cops came, he still had the gun in his hand. So they were like, oh, well, this is a kind of an open and shut case. He said, yeah, I did it because she won't come back with me. And they were like, great. So hands behind your back, and we'll be taking you to jail now. That's not allowed. What they did, though, they didn't take him to jail because he was there from Mississippi and all this. So rather than deal with him, they apparently took his gun away and took him to the train station and put him back on a train to Columbus.
You get on out of here.
Fuck out of here with that shit. Which doesn't seem... I don't see how that's true.
Yeah,
I feel like that. No. I feel like maybe they did that after he did like a court appearance. This was the 70s. This wasn't the 30s. Like in the 70s in Wisconsin, if the cops show, then again, if a 13-year-old Filipino boy is running around nude out of your apartment, they'll just bring him back to you also. So maybe not. I'm surprised they didn't bring him back to the house and knock and go, he seems sorry. He said he was sorry. I think maybe you should go back with him. Like, what the fuck?
We took the bullets out of it. Everything's fine now.
I take back all of that. It's 100% true. Judging by Jeffrey Dahmer and his crimes, I'm going to say it's actually true.
Can you keep your naked boyfriend out of the street, please? One of those guys retired as a police. That's crazy.
That is insanity. The second all that came out, as soon as it came out, and all of that shit came out, whoever was in charge should have just been like, you are absolutely fired. Like, obviously fired, right? You don't even have.
As soon as it came out, they should have walked in and said, "We're fired," right?
We quit is what it should have been. We returned a molestation/murder victim to the killer. This is great. Perfect.
Already in the process of being murdered.
He was nude for God. I could see if he had clothes on.
Right.
If he's nude and disoriented and that age, let's look into that a little deeper. Let's just not go, you left something outside. Give him back. That's crazy.
This is getting stale.
Knock on the door. Looking for someone? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Tell him to put pants on next time. Have a good night, sir. And he walks away.
It's cold out here. It's Wisconsin.
Jesus Christ. So, anyway, the grandmother would occasionally go down to Mississippi and visit relatives and shit like that. But then she would go back during the summer to take the kids to see the father who came over with the gun. So she would stay with him all summer and then go back to Wisconsin. So it's very, very weird. So then when she would go back, he didn't want her to leave, and that's how that ended up happening. So very, very strange.
I can see where the confusion comes in then.
Yeah, the whole thing is confusing. Gunplay, a little far, but I could see maybe knocking on the door saying, hey, come back with me. You come back, but...
I don't like it there without you. I mean, I can see it now.
Yeah, you can see it, but especially a guy who, would beat somebody like that also might not have the best...
his judgment's certainly off.
Yeah, his compass might be fucking pointing in the wrong direction once in a while is what I'm saying.
It might wiggle in there.
Caron's mother and father met at a rec center, just a rec center, neighborhood rec center in Racine when she was 14. They dated briefly and broke up after that, but she did end up getting pregnant. So she didn't find out till after they had broken up, and so and anybody who knocks up a 14-year-old, even if it's another 14-year-old, probably not the most responsible father at that point as well.
Yeah.
So Caron says that his mother told him, quote, "We were both young. I wasn't trying to get pregnant. He wasn't trying to get me pregnant. It just happened." That's the story of most human beings. You've just told the story of 92% of the world.
I was going to say it's probably 90%.
It's a
maybe
lot.
Better. It's a lot. Yeah.
I'm going to go with 92% of the world would say, I wasn't trying to get pregnant. He wasn't trying to get me pregnant. It just happened. Yeah. That's how kids are born. I mean, shit. Thanks, Caron. Yeah. Next he's going to go into, you see there's an egg that sits in the... Let's go into the whole reproductive process.
Is his dad around the same age as her?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's not like 26 or anything, so that's good. But I think he's a couple years older. I don't think he's 14.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
So she at first didn't even know that she was pregnant, couldn't figure it out because, she's 14, so she didn't really know the signs that well.
A child.
She said she was, not feeling too well. Grandmother took her to a doctor, and doctor told her, yeah, you got a bladder infection. Take these pills. You'll be fine. Because she was 14. And they didn't even think oh, maybe you're pregnant. They didn't even ask her. So eventually they, fucking went to get, a real doctor here.
OBGYN of some, yeah.
So Anyway, I guess the father wanted to marry the mother at first, but she said she was too young to get married because she's 14. And she said, I'm going to stay with my mom and do all of that, but thanks. Appreciate it. And so, she said that, she didn't have any experience. This was her first sexual experience and she got pregnant. So that's some luck right there. So yeah, he was born in Racine, like we said. And his dad left to join the Marines, and he said that he didn't talk to his dad. His dad never talked to his mom for years after that, so he didn't really grow up around his dad. He, nothing. He said he saw very little of him over the years, still never really had not much of a relationship. So they lived with his grandmother. Now, he said it's about 1,200 square foot house with 3 bedrooms and a basement, and he said his grandmother lived there. All 7 of her kids lived there.
Oh, my God.
And then, their kids, too. So
That's
he said...
full house, James.
Yeah. He said he had his aunt and uncles and everything, and he was like the little brother because the mother was only 15. So he wasn't considered like next generation. He was kind of in that generation. He said that then everybody else started having kids, and then it was a shitload of people in the house. Eventually, his grandmother moved out of her own house. Like, too many fucking people in here. Moved in with somebody else. He said that he had an uncle, Richard, who was just in and out of prison all the time, always like bringing women around and shit like that. All sorts of stuff like that. He said his grandmother had her own bedroom and everybody else just slept wherever they could find. It was kind of how it worked. He said there'd be 2-3 people in a bed with him. Others would lie down on the couch in the living room, or there's like a pull-out bed, or they'd put a sheet on the floor. So it was, he said it was tough. He said he didn't ever had his own bed until he was 8. He was sleeping with somebody. Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of, it's very old school. It sounds like it's 1938. With I slept with all my brothers and sisters when I was a kid type of shit.
And pre-8 years old, you pretty much fit in every bed. If you're
you fit anywhere. You can, wherever there's an opening, you can just kind of, an 8-year-old, you can kind of, there we go.
Tuck yourself in, fold up, and fall asleep.
He's like a helpful puzzle piece, like, oh, look at that. That one fits right there. Perfect.
It's an edge.
I was looking for a small one. That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
So school, he said that he had he had long hair when he was younger, and his mother would send him to school in what he called a blowout perm.
What?
So I guess kind of like it would be puffy, like a big fro type of thing. And he said that a lot of people thought he was a girl, and it used to drive him crazy when he was little because he had this big perm.
Yeah, like Snoop Dogg's long hair.
Yeah, because this was the 80s also. Right. So, it was boys had shorter hair, I guess, in the 80s. I don't fucking know. Now, his grandmother helped keep the family afloat because, as he put it, she was very successful while gambling on horses and greyhounds.
That's called lucky.
She's apparently, he said, just very successful. You can chalk it up to skill or luck, Jimmie. I'm not going to fucking tell you how things happen in the universe, but I will say that apparently she would win, as he put it, the majority of the time. She's amazing. The only one ever then, because there's a reason those businesses exist, and that's because nobody wins a majority of the time except for them. That's it.
That's insane.
I guess she did well enough, he said, to buy a Cadillac at one point. Yeah, she bought a Cadillac, and that was the family's transportation, was this Cadillac she bought. He
Thank
said,
God for the horses.
That's what I mean. He said when they didn't, like other people they knew didn't have money for food, they'd come over to their house, and the grandmother would have food, extra food and shit like that because she was
What was
money.
she doing?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like she's like, this is what gangsters say. I got lucky at the track. You know what I mean? Like, even in Goodfellas, you remember after the Lufthansa heist, Paulie, when they give him the tribute, he goes, a lot of money for a kid like you. Anybody ask you where you got it? You got lucky at the tables in Vegas. All right. And he smacks him in the face. All right. Yeah. That's what you say when you did something illegitimate. You tell everyone, I won it at the track.
When you do something where, or there's no taxes involved.
Well, it's the only thing where you could say, where did you just get a lot of money out of nowhere? Like, there's no other place on earth. You can't say, I just worked for 6 years. You can't tell somebody that, in the last 3 days. That's not going to work. Right. I got lucky at the track. And they go, holy shit. You go, yeah, it was wild,
They haven't paid me at my job in 12 years, so now they just hooked me right up.
They just lump summed me, man. It was awesome. That was pretty. They said balloon payment, and they were right. Yeah. This is good. I'm going to buy a Cadillac now. So he said that the way he put it, quote, there were times when I didn't have anything to eat, but my aunts and uncles would always give me a piece of their portion. So he said everybody ended up getting what they needed eventually, but, he said it was difficult. He said, though, that philosophy has kind of shaped his life. He said when he has successful moments, he says, when I sign a new contract or something, I try to incorporate my whole family into the celebration because that's how I was brought up. Right. So he's got that with him. And somehow, a lot of guys that have that attitude have no money by the time they're, they're still playing. Somehow he's still, doing well. He said that everybody talked to him very frankly as a kid. Like, he would hear they didn't like... they
didn't treat him like a child.
Well, if they couldn't afford something, they go, hey, this electric bill, they're going to shut our electricity off. They wouldn't go in another room and whisper. Like, he would hear all that kind of shit. So he said his Uncle Richard went back to jail all the time. He apparently was facing a lot of time for drugs here and there. He said it was tough. He said 8, 9 years old. He said the attitude was, quote, we speaking on this shit and everybody's going to learn from it. If you're learning from it now, good. If not, you'll go through it yourself.
Not
so
bad.
That's a good attitude. He said he learned early that they just couldn't afford a lot of things that he wanted. And, that's that. He said, I understood that early and knew not to ask for shit that was too expensive and stuff like that. He said that his family, they complained about Mississippi a lot. He said all he ever heard growing up was, about how shitty Mississippi was and how corrupt everything was down there and everything like that. He says it was funny because he'd hear from his family that in Mississippi, they'd said, there's so much racism down there that it was hard to get anywhere.
It's unbearable. Right?
He said it was fucking unbearable. He was talking about even the lawyers down there and all this type of shit. He's talking, and he said, quote, now some of it was certainly justified. I would hear that we had to march for this or that because white people were denying blacks some basic rights in our society, and nobody can argue that wasn't true. He said, again, TV showed me the difference between the two societies. It was white people I saw driving the new cars, owning the car dealerships and other businesses, and having perfect families like the one I saw in the Brady Bunch. I also watched Mork and Mindy, The Honeymooners, and I Love Lucy. All I saw were white people in all the major roles, white people everywhere. I didn't see any programs starring anyone of color until 227 and the Jeffersons came into my living room. Yeah. So yeah, he was trying to figure out the world, and when you're a kid, that's the only prism, it's the only thing you have to the outside world is TV. You don't get to I was traveling through France and I noticed that.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from Law and Crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
There. You're an 8-year-old in Racine in a poor family. Like, there's nothing you can do. So you hear shit from your family, and then you see things on TV, and you try to form your own, like, vision of the world and what it is. So that's interesting. He said his mom would take him shoplifting, basically, here. What? He said, quote, I didn't realize what my mom was doing at first. During a period when all of our options for clothes had temporarily shut down, she took me to the mall and into a dressing room at one of the department stores. She told me to wait there and then came back with 4 pairs of pants and 5 shirts. She said to put them on, all of them at the same time.
We're getting out of here.
When I looked at her with a quizzical expression as if to say, what are you doing? She replied calmly but firmly, just put these on. That mom shit. Then I'd walk out of the store. That was back to school shopping for me. He said one time they wound up running through the mall after a security guard realized what they were doing. Yeah. And he said, my mom hoped I would have blocked that incident out in my memory by now, but I remember it clearly. One of the security guys yelling out, ma'am, stop. My mom pushed me aside and ran in the opposite direction, hoping they wouldn't associate me with her.
See you at home, motherfucker.
She ditched him.
You're on your own, bitch.
You're on your own. Run, motherfucker. I don't know if it was...
Can you imagine trying to run with 5 pairs of Levi's on?
You're like, oh, Jesus Christ. You can't move your arms because you have 5 shirts on that all fit. They're all your size. It's not like they got you a bunch of... It's not like you're layering.
Get bigger as you put them on.
It's not a fucking Russian doll outfit. They just put shirts that fit you on. It's very tight.
They're all size medium. This is a bitch.
They're all twisted different ways in your arm. It's very uncomfortable. That'd be goddamn terrible. 5 pairs of underwear. So
5 pairs of the same size Levi's trying to run through the fucking mall.
That's the best part is he says, quote, somehow I made it out of the mall, worn out and sweating from running with all those layers of clothes on me.
Yeah.
It affected him. It was tough. He
that's
realized
how you get fast enough to play in the NBA.
I was just going to say, then he realized that's the way you do cardio. And now from then on, all of his off-season workouts encompassed wearing 5 layers of Levi's and those little crocodile polo shirts from the 80s that the kids had.
Lacoste.
Lacoste, there you go. A little crocodile. So he said that I found our car and waited there, scared they had caught her and taken her away, leaving me alone with no way to get home. They didn't catch my mom that day. She showed up at the car, quieting my rapidly beating heart, is what he says. But he says another time his mom did get caught. He said they arrested her and took me into protective custody, which is probably why she was trying to she wasn't ditching him. She was saying, if I get caught, they're going to put him, CPS is going to take him. So I'm not with that kid. Yeah. That's what I thought immediately, but it was funnier to say that she was ditching him. That was just funnier. But
it's fantastic.
I figured we'd circle back to it and and say that she was probably just trying her best. So
I hope she said something like, get away, kid, I don't know you.
Yeah, this little motherfucker tried to steal my purse, and then she runs the other direction. They tackle him, like, God damn it. So
man, what are you stealing?
Yeah. So he said the family came to get me, but she went to jail. When she got out, she promised me she would never do that again. Well, that's good. And he said that she didn't, so that's helpful. He said she didn't do any of that. She said that she instead turned into, because you got to understand, for a while here, she's not even 18 yet. Right. So she's a kid still. So, yeah, that's the crazy part. He said when she was 18 and could hold better jobs, she started, his mom's nickname was Overtime, apparently. Uh-huh. Everyone called her that because she had like 4 jobs and she was always working constantly to put food on the table. So, she did a good job of whatever. They moved out of the house. He said she rented a place for them and worked in all different kinds of jobs. She worked at Wendy's also. She worked at Western Publishing, Color Art, some other place, the Chicken Factory, where she plucked chickens. Wow. That's the second player's mom who was a chicken plucker.
That's right.
That we've dealt with. And also at Incinerator. That makes garbage.
Is that right?
That makes, I'm sure, look in your sink. If you have a garbage disposal, it's an incinerator probably. So they all are. So, there you go. Apparently, eventually, the incinerator became her full-time job, but she was on the assembly line putting garbage disposals together on the graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Yikes. He said she'd work 80 hours a week. A lot of times, anytime anybody needed a day off, or any time off, she would cover for him, and she'd, just stack as many hours as she could. They said everybody at the factory didn't even know her name. They just called her overtime. That was her name. Everyone just called her OT. So he said, one coworker said, "I've never seen a woman work as much as you do. Every time I turn around, you're here. It's like you live here." That's how she was. His mom was tall. His mom was 5'11", so tall woman. Yeah, Caron ends up being 6'7", so that's he's got to have some kind of tall genetics there. After a while, she earned her way out of government benefits. So that was apparently a proud day for her to be able to make too much money to not get any benefits. So she was excited about that. That was a big deal for the family. She said, though, it was still hard because they didn't have a lot of money. He said sometimes like the landlord would come over and they'd have to all be quiet and hide and pretend they weren't home.
Yeah.
He said it wasn't that simple because we had while we had the shades or blinds on all the windows, they were so thin that if anybody stood up, their silhouettes could be seen moving around from the outside. So my mom put sheets up that covered all the windows. So that's what she put sheets up. So when the landlord came, you couldn't see him doing that. So yeah, he said that he said she was always something behind the rent. $100. She's always owing him $100, $150. I'll pay you this, that next week, all kinds of shit like that. So Caron, he said that he saw how hard his mom worked. So he had that as an example, but he also saw that she never had any money for rent or anything like that. And then he said he saw the other side, which was, he saw fucking guys running around with beepers and gold chains and the shoes he wanted and like have new cars, and they don't seem to be working 80 hours a week. They're not going to the incinerator factory. So he was like, what's going on here? Now, as a kid, like I said, you're trying to figure out what your worldview is. So he said, one point he said that there was this spot she had to go cash a check at a check cashing place, and he noticed a lot of like activity going on in the street, as he put it. He said, quote, there was drug dealing and, quote, there were women on the street who were not fully dressed.
Weird.
So, yeah. I saw guys with beepers hanging off their waists and gold chains hanging around their neck. I saw cars with gold rims around their tires. There were no cell phones in those days, but I remember seeing guys at the various payphones on the block. And I saw people who were broken down, pathetic, seemingly withering away. Those were the dope fiends. When my mom got back in the car and saw me peering out of the window, she told me, "Stay away from here. Don't you ever come back to the street." She was like, "This isn't for you." So, but he put it in his memory bank because this is where you go for shit like that. And he said one time he's in the living room of his mom's house, and his mother's boyfriend was in the kitchen there, and apparently the mother told Caron to stay in the living room and stay out of the kitchen. So he, was like, okay. And then she went in her bedroom and shut the door. So he said there was no way I was going to listen to her, obviously. I had to go see what was going on. So he said that, I'm a nosy guy, is what he said, basically. So he headed right there. He said he peeked around the corner and he saw a needle sticking out of the boyfriend's arm.
Oh, my God.
And he said, but he didn't look like he was in pain. Like at first he was like, oh no, he hurt himself. But then he was like, oh, saw him kind of nodding out. He just shot himself up with heroin and now he's fucking nodding. He said, so I figured out what he was doing instantly, but I thought, damn, why is he shooting in his arm? That's not how they do drugs. This must be a new way. He said, I didn't get it. In movies, you see people snorting cocaine. Right. So he was like, why is he shooting drugs in his arm there? He said, though, now he knows what was going on, but he thought, wow, that must be real powerful. He said, I'm not going to do that. So he said he never wanted to shoot himself up with anything after that. So that's good. He said that it was quiet for about 20 or 30 minutes. And he said, okay, I guess I'll go back. And he said he went back in the living room and watched TV. He was like, I guess that's what the adults are doing.
That seems like fun.
That looks like a great time. He said, when he's very young here, he said his friends started smoking weed. And that's the first thing he did. He said his friends would get Bible paper and fucking, and smoke it up. So there you go. It's a free rolling paper. It's the same thickness as rolling papers. So he said after we went to the neighborhood center and got our free lunch, we would often head to a nearby lake. One of my friends handed me a piece of that rolled up paper and said, now, mind you, this is like 1992 when this is happening. So we were alive in 1992. Sure. I remember stuff. This phrase has not been said since roughly 1954.
All right.
Okay, by like a jazz musician somewhere. He says, quote, smoke this. Quote, it's a reefer. Now,
yeah,
it's a reefer, see? You're going to smoke it, see? What? No, what goddamn kid has used the term it's a reefer since the late 40s? Honestly, let's be realistic here.
It's a reefer?
A reefer. Not even it's reefer. Which is still outdated at that point, but still would be bizarre. But it's a reefer.
Yeah.
That's, I think in Back to the Future they said that. Like, that's crazy. That's like really, really old school. Here, smoke this. See, it's a reefer. It's a reefer. See, his friend did have like a pork pie hat on and a little short sleeve shorts with a suit on and suspenders and
a little vest.
Yeah, a little vest on. He was like, "Yeah, smoke this. It's a reefer, see?
A reefer.
A reefer." He said that they'd go down there by the lake, and he said the older kids would be down there shooting off handguns. He said they'd sit on the rocks and shoot into the water, like pulling like a Marlowe.
This place is fucking reckless, man.
Oh, it's very reckless.
In 92?
92, he said those were the cool things to do. Smoke pot and shoot bullets into the lake. I mean, yeah, that's fun.
It's not a bad day.
You are going to have fun. If you're smoking weed and shooting bullets into a lake just indiscriminately, that's fun. Yeah. You are going to have fun, but it's not safe or good, probably, if you're a child. Right. If you're an adult, I mean, I guess go crazy. There's nobody else around.
Don't go crazy, but have a good time.
Have a good time out there. He said, that's what I did as a 9-year-old.
Good Lord.
Along with my buddy who lived next door, we'd shoot pistols with the older dudes. That was some crazy shit we were doing. It was bam, bam, bam. Then we go play basketball or bounce around on the swing set. That was the way we grew up. So this is what I'm saying. He's growing up. We're spending a lot of time on this for a reason, because it's really you have to know how he came up to understand what happens later and how remarkable it is. It's wild. So
it's fascinating to me, because at this time I was getting up early in the morning to watch like Zoobilee Zoo. Do you remember that show? That was my favorite shit.
I never watched kids shows when I was a kid.
Really?
I didn't like kids
Zoobilee
shows.
Zoo was great. It was just like adults dressed as animals, and I loved it.
That sounds pretty good.
And it was like a little community, and there was plots and problems.
There was plots and problems.
I loved that show.
There's issues. God damn it.
It wasn't a cartoon either. It was fucking great.
Live action. Oh, that's sad. Low budget. Adults
very
in
low
fucking
budget.
costumes. Oh, that's some sad shit.
And they had to like act out like fucking animals. There was a cockatoo, and
those poor bastards. As an adult, you're looking back. They want to be actors, Jimmy. Think about that.
Yeah, they did.
That's their gig. That's their gig.
Yeah, those people went to Hollywood with a dream, and they ended up dressing like a cockatoo.
They're like, I mean, I'm dressed like a cockatoo now.
Yeah.
But the producer of this cockatoo show says he's working on a project about Cleopatra, and I really feel like I could get a big part in this.
I'm going to get the lead role.
It's going to be a big budget. Dustin Hoffman's attached at this point. I really think we could work this out. Nope. Not happening.
Nope, she was a cockatoo forever.
That's fucking terrible. No, I was a weird kid. I didn't like kids shows.
I'd like to know. I hope there's a book about that show or something. I got to find out what happened to those fucking people.
You have to. Well, IMDb. If it was on TV, it's on IMDb.
I will
so
Google that. Yeah.
Find them and hunt them down. And I'm curious. You know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to hunt them, and we're going to find these people and ask them about it. I would love to interview these people.
Zoobly Zoo, what was your passion?
Because I don't think anyone's probably brought it up to them in years. So they'd be
probably
like,
not.
oh, Jesus, I did do that. Yeah. Pretty fucking embarrassing, if I'm being honest with you. But no, don't show me a clip of it. Don't show me a clip of it. No. I'm just saying. I remember it.
There is a child somewhere that says, my dad was on Zoobly Zoo.
Oh, no, there isn't, because he hides it. He has his costume just all alone in a storage unit. It's just in like a light up glow box, and that's all it's in there. In case it's time to don it again at some point.
Well, Caron Butler shooting bullets. I'm watching that.
Well,
shit.
He's bucking shots off. So his mother said about him, quote, Caron made good grades, raked leaves, and shoveled snow without prompting, and got a newspaper route at age 11. He's also it's also when Caron began dealing drugs, though. He said, I was a paper boy, and at the same time I was selling crack.
May as well.
Crack slinging paper boy. Enter Junebug into the picture.
Oh,
okay.
There's always a Junebug.
There's a Junebug. He said that this was like he was the superstar of the neighborhood, Junebug. He was running shit. And he said he knew him personally and, would brag about that and everything. His real name was Jimmie Carter, which is funny. And he's Junebug running the neighborhood. He was dating his Aunt Kathy, apparently, and was dealing drugs with his Uncle Richard. So kind of involved with him. So he was all tied into it. He said that he was the biggest drug dealer in the neighborhood. And he said that Uncle Richard made so much money selling drugs that his nickname was Daddy Rich. So they did well. He said, but Junebug, though, he was the guy. He was very famous. They said he had 3 or 4 cars with rims on them, gold rims. One car that cost $50,000 that had gold rims on it. He had tons of jewelry. He had 20 to 30 people working for him, and all of them were driving Cadillacs. I mean, he said it was he said, quote, he once won a BMW in a dice game. Like he was
what?
Very high stakes. Like his guys were betting Beamers in dice games because they were rolling.
I've never heard of so many successful gamblers before.
Right? Everyone in his family is lucky.
Yeah.
He should. Why is he playing basketball? He should be on like the World Series of Poker or some shit because I feel like it's gonna go down to him.
PokerStars.com, sir. You're about to crush it.
He said that one day he shut down the local Foot Locker and bought most of the merchandise in the store.
Unbelievable.
So he just said, close the store. Said he'd throw money around. He would give it away. He'd walk into a bar and buy everyone a drink. He'd call himself the Santa Claus of the ghetto. So
that's a good way to get yourself audited.
It's a good way to get yourself robbed is what it is also.
Yeah.
Unless you have tons of respect and everybody's either, afraid of you or afraid of the repercussions of doing that.
You're about to get robbed one way or another, whether it be
Something's
the government or
going
the
on.
street.
He said one time Caron asked him if he put all his money in a bank, and Junebug said, man, in this town I am the bank.
Okay.
So he's got cash buried in the walls and shit probably. He said he would stash money under floorboards or in planks in his attic, in drain pipes or in other hidden spots around his house, his mother's house, his grandmother's house, his sister's house, and our house. Then, if he wanted to buy a car, he'd go around the neighborhood picking up $10,000 in cash from one hiding place, $20,000 from another, and he'd do that until he had enough to go buy the car. This is not a way to sustain for long term. This is a very temporary arrangement here.
This is fleeting success.
Yeah. He said in his neighborhood, that's who everybody wanted to be like. There was fuck be like Mike. It was be like Junebug is the way he said in his book here. He said that he was way bigger than anybody that they watched on TV. Everybody was way more impressed with him. He said that Junebug was very good. He had good organizational skills. Said he was very good with his employees and had like a good setup. You go here and do this and set this, and he gives the money to this guy and gives it to that guy. And that's the thing about drug dealing. Whenever we watch Love After Lockup and someone was in for drug dealing, I'm like, they have a chance because
they're enterprising.
Yeah, if they're patient enough to not say, I need to do this immediately, they have the skills and the mindset to be able to run a business. That's what that is. It's running a fucking business. You just
if you can payment plan your restitution and figure out your fines enough to understand what you need to pay per month, and then get that scheduled down into some sort of a Word document, you can probably
something.
Not Word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you can work that out. Document. You can work some shit out with that. An Excel sheet. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Get that paperclip working.
So that's what I mean. So whenever I see that on like Love After Lockup, every time I'm like, you know what? Maybe that dude could be all right because he's just trying to make some money. So that's
so far without
skill.
fail, James. Every person that's been in for just drugs has figured it out. There's only been 2.
Just dealing drugs, not doing drugs.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If they're a crackhead, all bets are off. You never know. All bets are off. They disappear. Look at Christiana there.
No
she took
fucking
off.
idea where she is.
No, none. Goodbye. See ya. Fucking.
She's married somewhere.
She's just in the wind in Iowa somewhere, fucking smoking crack, I'm sure. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's smoking crack. That's a positive.
But the 2 guys that sold drugs are successful. Well, so far.
One so far. Well, there was the one guy, he was like at his own place. Remember, he was having his mom over for dinner and all that. And then I think
fine.
I think Ray's going to be okay.
That's the one. Yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
I think Ray had it tough, and I think he's going to be all right. If you didn't watch Love After Lockup, first of all, you're fucking up, but second of all, you don't know anything about what we're talking about.
He was so young when he went in, James.
He was like 17.
Right.
And I always say that about she's very hard on him, and I'm always like, this is this guy's first like adult relationship, and every time he's like, man, like fuck, I guess this is what it's like, and it's like that's not what it's like. Run, Ray, run.
This is the man's first adult everything, and she's making it awful on him.
He's trying, man. So Caron said about Junebug that Junebug would bring in kids that he knew around the neighborhood to work for him. That's how it was. I mean, that's where the work was. He said that he recruited players from his basketball team that Caron played on, telling them, quote, hey, forget basketball. It's cool, but I need you to come with me and make some money, some real money. Okay. So telling kids to forget basketball is not good at all. He said that, first he ended up with like 15 people under him, and then it would kind of blossom from there. He set up a drug house where it sounded really like an organized thing. You'd have a guy come into the hallway, you'd check out what they had. It was like going into a fucking dispensary the way they had it set up. But you buy Coke and then you'd leave, and one person in at a time, and the whole deal. So she said that it was so successful, at one point there would be lines going down the block, like they were getting into a club. And so he said that they asked Junebug about that, like, hey, aren't you worried? And he said, I could have 1,000 people in line and only be serving dinners. What do the cops know? Which is eventually they figure shit out. He said
most people don't line up for Salisbury steak.
Not usually, and on just some random residential street and some crack house is the other thing. Oh, that's a crack house. I bet they have great fucking pork chops in there. That's what I hear anyway. Said that the only way the cops could, he said they would need a warrant and they need an informant to go in and shit like that. And he said that they were very thorough in their investigation of new customers and shit to make sure they weren't cops. He said that they had a bucket of acid there to throw all the coke in if the place got raided.
Wow.
So he said you toss it in there and it would be gone in the acid. He said that this was when he would be selling powder cocaine. He said, but eventually it turned into crack. And he said that was made Junebug more worried because it was harder. It wouldn't just dissolve immediately in acid. So that was difficult. But you had to have crack. That's what everybody wanted. So, I mean, you got to give the people what they want, Jimmie. That's the thing.
Supply and demand, James. When demand's one thing, you got to get it.
Yeah, if people want crack, you give them crack if that's what you're doing. That's it. So he said, he told me, quote, I always said this is Junebug talking to him, When I made $50,000 or $100,000, I was going to quit. But I'm an inner city kid, so to me, $50,000 was a lot of money. But when you get it, and it comes so quick, it seems like nothing compared to what you could get. You might spend $50,000 on a car and some rims, and it's all tax-free. So now you want $100,000, you want $1 million. Suddenly you got garbage bags full of money, fast money coming at you hand over fist. It was my way out of the ghetto. You're thinking, man, this is the life. Yeah, I would say.
Holy shit.
Why everybody would think that.
But I would never think about garbage bags full of cash.
I'd be fucking petrified with garbage bags full of cash. I'd be like, oh my God, this is so frightening. Jesus.
Oh man. I get worried when I've got $200-$300 in my pocket.
Oh shit, someone's going to roll me. He said Junebug inspired him to become a drug dealer. He said when he saw him bringing in garbage bags full of money into the basement of his house and splitting it up, he said, well, that looks good.
Yeah.
Fuck, I could see that. He said one night he was 11 years old. He had to get up at 3 a.m. because of his newspaper route.
Mm-hmm.
3 a.m. And he said he was delivering the Racine Journal-Times. And he said his stack of papers would be tossed onto the lawn around that time, and he'd have to pull them in and pull out the different sections and put them together to make up the full newspapers like the kids have to do. And he was wrapping rubber bands around them so you could throw them on in their yards. So he said the crew came upstairs laughing about the big haul they collected in the streets. One of them saw me crouched behind a pile of newspapers in awe at the stacks of money the guys were carrying. He gave me a big smile and tossed me the bag of crumbs he was holding. And he says crumbs is the term used to describe the residue of cocaine, what's left after it's cut up. So just the odds and ends. He said it may have been crumbs to Junebug's gang, but to me it was the mother load. It was 17 grams. It's a shitload of coke.
Wow.
It's a good amount of coke. He said so from there, he knew what to do with those crumbs, he said. They tossed that to me, and he was like, okay, I know what to do with this. He said, so I divided that bag up into smaller bags, and he would sell 20 bags, and he made $20 bags. He made $600 off of this.
Wow.
So he was like, yeah, this is the shit. He said on the first deal he made $40. I thought, I just got $40. On this paper route, I get $100 for 3 weeks of work.
Ouch.
He said, and I just made $40 for walking up the damn street. He said, oh, yeah, I could make a career out of this shit. Like, this is the jam. He said, I skipped school the next day.
Really partied it up.
Yeah, he's like, no, he said he stayed on the streets to sell the rest of his coke. He's like, this is fucking great. I'm not going to school.
Yeah.
This is nuts. Which the problem is, if a child is selling coke in the middle of the day, it stands out because it's like,
it does, yeah.
You don't think, why is he selling coke? You think, why isn't he in school?
Right.
And then you figure out, because he's selling coke, probably. Right. That's bad. So he said he did all that. He said, I wound up making about $400. I spent half of it on some Nike shoes. I was a dope man wearing my dope man shoes. That's what they used to call them on the streets. Yeah. I also bought a fresh pair of Levi's, a white T-shirt, a gold-plated gun belt, and a Kangol hat, the furry type worn by the old school drug dealers. I felt official, a real drug dealer. I was doing it. You're making money now, I told myself. It's on. He's 11.
Yeah.
He's 11. What the fuck?
Forrest Gump's dope mans.
Yeah, he's 11 and he's dressed like Dolomite and he's fucking walking around. What is happening?
Unbelievable. He's got a Kangol, James.
He's got a furry Kangol, Jimmy. This is fucking silly. He said, once my mom went to work or sleep, I would hit the streets and start hustling. I was turned on by the material stuff, the gold chains, the fancy cars, seeing garbage bags of money. It was mesmerizing. Whatever I had on me, I could sell, making $200, $300, $400, or making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. It didn't matter. Like, if I had it, I could sell it in a matter of 2 to 3 hours. That's the traffic you had out there.
Sick.
Wow. He said, you can take a kid to school all day. He's in school for 8 hours. He doesn't see the immediate impact. But you could stay out on the corner for 4 or 5 hours and make $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
That's an impact. So, not shockingly, he is arrested 15 times before the age of 15.
Is that 15?
15 times for different things. And it runs the whole gamut from shoplifting to drug stuff to disorderly stuff to
15
shit
times.
Kids do. 15 times by 15. That's some Tyson numbers. Those are Mike Tyson numbers.
Yeah.
But he's not like mean-spirited. He wasn't like hurting people is the thing. He's just
trying to survive.
He's trying to make money. Yeah, he sees the money. He says that at 12 or 13, I was deep into my drug dealing and gangbanging, but the days were still reserved for basketball. With all that, some of us were doing on the wrong side of the law. The common denominator for the kids in my neighborhood was basketball. No matter what else was happening, we always met up at the Bryant Center for free lunches. The courts, of course, were also there, so we played every day. The older I got, the better I got, becoming one of the stars of the neighborhood. So he said that sometimes we'd have to temporarily interrupt our games right in the middle when duty called. We would play at Bryant Center from 1 to 3 in the afternoon, then head over to Stephen Bull to play from 4 to 6. But if the buzz of one of our pagers broke through the sounds of bouncing balls, we would call a timeout, go make a drug sale, then come right back to the center of the playground and pick up where we left off, like we'd just taken an ice cream break.
Unbelievable.
So, hold on, timeout. Hold on. All right, game on. I sold the crack.
Serve the fiends.
Got to do it. He said that people started to notice how good he was, and they were telling him that he should join this traveling AAU team. And he said, I was playing so well at that time, some of the older cats at the Bryant Center started paying attention to me, started seeing my potential before I even did. He said, man, you need to go do something with that game of yours, they would tell me. You need to get on one of those small fry teams or get on Coach Rudy's traveling team that goes around the country. You need to get out of here so people can see you. So I guess he had a connection through his uncle. Look, it's one part good about having a lot of family is you have a lot of connections. And they got him a place on a traveling team. And he said, once in uniform, I proved that I deserved a place on the roster. Playing with and against kids my own age, I was a dominant force on the floor. I think that's because I'd been playing against older kids in my neighborhood most of my life. To prove I belonged, I had developed an overly aggressive and physical style.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's crushing kids his own age. So, and he liked basketball. Sure. He said, quote, I thought, damn, this is fun. I don't have to worry about looking over my shoulder. I don't have to worry about someone shooting at me or somebody, shooting me or shooting at me. I'm with white kids and black kids. Everybody's acting nice, showing love and a lot of camaraderie. This shit is all right. I can do this. It's easy. Now I've got to go to this school a little more to remain eligible. So he figured out, well, fuck, this is better than they treat you nice.
Right.
Everybody's nice to each other. Nobody's fucking shooting. Great shit. He was at Racine Case High at the time when he was a freshman, and he's like, I'm going to start doing more basketball. But he's also still dealing drugs. I mean, that's not... Right. You're not going to just stop making money because basketball's fun. Let's be honest here. So he says at one point, and this is from his book, so who knows, but he says he gave his locker combination to a friend. That day, he said, police found drugs and an unloaded pistol in his locker.
Oh, no. You can't do that in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So he was also carrying $1,200 in cash, which was a lot for a freshman.
$1,200 drugs and a gun? I wonder what you're doing.
It's a lot in 1994 for a freshman. He said that to protect his friend, he told the police that the drugs and pistol were his because he didn't want to rat, he said. So he said that his family tried to get him to tell on his friend, but he said, quote, I couldn't see myself doing that. He said, I wasn't going to tell on anybody that I was rolling with, so I had to man up. I was hustling. I was doing what I was doing. So when I got caught up like that, I had to bite the bullet. When you're out there selling poison, it's going to come back. That's karma, man. Basically what he said is, it's all in the game. And that's it. Fourth down. Fuck, what are you supposed to do? Punt. Right. Nothing else you can do here. That's it. So he says, well, you know what? Let's give him, let me say an in their own words for Caron here. Let's give him an in their own words about his whole deal. In their own words, quote, as the legal process played out, I made 5 appearances in court. The prosecutor made sure he got all the time he needed to present my entire criminal record. And believe me, that took some time. Even I was surprised how much they had on me. Yes, there was the assault and the battery charges, carrying a weapon, and attempts to deliver drugs. Nothing new here. It seemed like I'd been everywhere I shouldn't have been. But what blew me away was the number of times my name was mentioned in other cases. Anytime a guy got arrested for selling drugs on a Racine street corner, the police would ask him where he got the stuff. Hoping to get a lighter sentence, the person in custody would give them the name of the dude who supplied him with the dope. That dude's name was then put in police paperwork, and it seemed like I wound up in everybody's paperwork.
Perhaps he is the gambling and the luck. It's definitely playing in his favor because there's no reason in the world that I should know this kid's name.
That's what I'm saying.
With this kind of rap sheet, by the time he's 18, there's no reason that I should know who Caron Butler is.
I know people who've had this sort of similar thing, and they did not play in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So he is very, very lucky.
For an hour a day. That's all they were allowed.
That's what I'm saying. So Butler is found guilty here at 14 and sentenced to, you little youngster, yeah. You Ute may fuck off. 2 years in prison he's sentenced to.
Jesus.
So, yeah, he was like, God damn. He said, quote, that hit me hard because I didn't expect anything that harsh the first time I went in front of a judge. But they had thrown so much at me, I guess a sentence that had been more lenient would have seemed soft. 2 years might not be that bad to a hardened criminal, but when you're 15, that's 1/8 of your life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Good math.
No shit. Yeah, good job. See, he's too smart for this shit. Well, he's a drug dealer. Math skills are on point. He said, in my eyes, I wasn't guilty of anything really bad, but listening to a reading of all the things I had done, I realized I was living a life on the edge. Still, as scary as that moment was, a part of me, the gangster part, thought it was also pretty cool. He said, remember that in the 80s and 90s when guys were put behind bars, there was an element of society that cheered them on. The respect they got when they got out of jail made it seem like they were returning war veterans. They were heroes. The guys in the hood celebrated them. They were honored from the time they spent away. People would help them get back on their feet financially. Everywhere they went, people would stuff bills in their pockets, $200, $150, $100, whatever people could afford. We salute you for doing your time. So he said that's what those released from incarceration were told. So he said, I didn't want to go to jail, but he said, I smiled as I imagined the admiration that would be showered upon me by the community upon my return.
He had something to look forward to.
This kid, one thing I'll give Caron, and this is something that I don't think I have, and it's maybe why he's so successful, is he can take any situation and he's very good at assessing it and then figuring out what's bad and then finding out in his brain how there's also a silver lining,
right.
Which is like, that's a certain mindset that people have that it's magic. It's great. It's because otherwise you get hung up on shit. And he's like, fuck, I'm in jail for 2 years. Oh, but when I come out, yeah, they're going to fucking love me. I wouldn't think of that. I'd be thinking about in 5 minutes when I have to figure out how to deal with this prison shit that I have to deal with. I wouldn't.
Also, he's doing somebody else's time in their eyes because he's taking the rap for somebody else, which is even more noble and brave.
Well, and in his mind, he's like, if it was another day, it would have been my shit in there. So who cares? Anyway. You know, so yeah, he looked at it as all in the game, you know, so.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
So he said he spent the first 2 months of an 18-month sentence, because that's what he ended up, what he was going to have to do, at the Racine Correctional Institution, which is an adult maximum security prison.
Oh, my God.
For a 15-year-old. He says, quote, "It was survival. People were getting raped. You got murderers in there. That was a bad environment." Yeah. For a 15-year-old, fuck yeah. So for anybody. He said after the first 2 months, he was transferred to the Ethan Allen Boys School for Boys, where they taught him furniture design. And
yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah, this was in Wales, Wisconsin.
Beautiful place.
Beautiful country up there. He said it was, but it was like maximum security for juveniles. He said it was razor wire. There was kids in there who were convicted of murder and drug dealing and all that shit. He said his mother followed the prison bus when they went there in the family station wagon. She said, he was with me ever since birth. So she said, to have your child taken away from you, it was devastating. I almost went crazy. And he ends up doing his time here. Within his first month at Ethan Allen, he got into a altercation with a rival gang member from back home. So it goes to there. He is sentenced to 15 days in solitary confinement for that, and forced to do the 23 hours a day in the cell, that whole shit in solitary. And he said that was really hard on him. He said, quote, "When I got incarcerated, I think that was an opportunity for me away from everything, to be away from everything for so long and just be out of my everyday norm, my everyday environment, and learn a lot about myself. Once I was placed out of that environment, I wanted to do better. I wanted to not be in the same cycle I once was." So he said at that point, he decided that he's going to change his life around and figure it out for his mom. He said that he felt like a huge disappointment to his mother, and he said that, he felt bad about the whole shit, and so he felt like he was hurting his mother, and he said she was working all this overtime, being selfless, and he's out making her fucking sad. So he is released from the Ethan Allen facility in August of 1996, and he told his mom he wouldn't get in any trouble, anything like that. Right. And less than a month after he's released, because he ends up doing about 9 months in prison.
Oh, boy.
About 9 months. And just the week he's released, a daughter is born. That's his.
I wonder, how the fuck did he do that?
He had a going-away party, I feel like.
Okay.
And they named this child Camry. Not Camry like the car, Cam with an A, Camry. So,
okay. That's
like
Camry.
It's Camry. So, little Toyota Camry Butler here is born. So, his mother moved after that, and he said that, they moved out of the neighborhood because that was a big part of it. He said 8 days after he moved, he was on the porch getting a haircut when a friend of his came over and asked him if he wanted to go hang out at the park. He said he was wearing an ankle monitor at the time, just got out of prison, couldn't go. So he said, no, sorry. And he said 2 hours later, his friend got shot and killed at the park that invited him to come.
Wow.
So he's lucky, man. He said, quote,
almost didn't hear of him several times.
Several times. I mean, the fact that the possible outcomes are like 99% we will never hear of this guy, and maybe 1% what it turned out to be.
The luckiest man on earth.
He really is. And he made a lot of his own luck, too. He's lucky to be in the position to be able to make his own luck later. You know what I mean? Yeah. He said, if I wasn't on that bracelet, I would have been right there with him. That stuff, it takes a fire out of you, makes you say, this is not for me no more. So, yeah, he got a job at Burger King in his first step to try to, be straight here. Gets a job at Burger King, And he said that his friends would fucking stop by and heckle him, make fun of him for mopping the floor. All
nice
that
onion
shit.
rings, pussy.
Yep. He said, quote, they'd see me with heat bumps and be laughing at me, and I'd say, I ain't got to watch my back out here. He said he was setting the example. He said it took time to adjust. He said, quote, I saw guys rolling around in new cars, having new clothes, new Jordans, reminders of all the things I couldn't afford. Old friends would come in and make fun of me because of my uniform, but I knew I couldn't go back to jail, no matter how tempting the lure of quick money was. He said, at Bray Community Center in Racine, where I first started playing basketball, there's a photo of 21 black men, many of whom I used to run with. All were under the age of 25, and they are now all dead. I knew I had to turn my life around. This guy, everybody he talks about, he's like, and that guy got killed later, and that guy got shot this time. Like every one of his stories ends with, but that guy's dead now, because he was murdered.
Who knew that Racine was such a fucking war zone?
I had no clue Racine was so shitty until this. I really didn't. There's a lot of these little fucking smaller cities that have fucking huge problems
just
like this.
Hard dudes, yeah.
It's a big deal. Yeah, it really happens. He said that this is when he said that he would play basketball at Ethan Allen when he went to jail. And he said they would bet, and he would win Little Debbie snack cakes and frosted donuts.
Hell yeah.
Playing basketball. So he goes back to high school, to Washington Park High School, and he also ends up playing for an AAU team as well. He ends up doing 3 summers with the AAU team, and his coach at the AAU team said that he spent countless hours trying to tell him that this is what you should do, not that. Like, I get that now that seems good, but in a couple years this will pay off. Like this has a payoff to it. And he said it was hard to convince him. The coach said. The coach says, quote, he was still very influenced by his environment and those individuals whom he hung around with. His mentality was still in the streets. Fair enough. I mean, yeah. What do you want? He at one point, and this is some dumb shit during all this, he went to a dance party at the high school. He went to, homecoming or whatever the fuck it was. Now, think about this. He's trying to get his life together and all this, but he's still carrying a gun to the school to go to a dance. He's got the gun tucked in his waistband. So, at some point, he's dancing, having a good time, until...
Oh, no.
A huge boom goes off.
Yep.
His fucking gun went off in his pants. A la Plaxico Burress.
Wow.
Yep. Just like this is a total Plaxico Burress thing, except it didn't happen in a nightclub. It happened in high school.
Cummerbund.
Tight-ass cummerbund. And he said that it went off and shot him in the leg.
It got him.
Oh, it shot him. It hit him in the fucking leg. He said, luckily, the bullet didn't hit his knee. He had a flesh wound, and then it went and lodged itself in the floor.
Oh, my God.
He has a flesh wound, though. He has a fucking gunshot wound in his leg. Yeah. So he said at the same time there were like rival people that he used to be against, gang type people in the gang type people. That's an interesting phrase. At the dance as well. And he said the sound of the gun going off caused them to react. So he caused a chain reaction. They heard a shot. So everybody else who has a gun in the whole place pulled out. Say, there's gunplay here. One of the guys apparently pulled his gun out and got it caught on something awkwardly. I don't know if these like formal dances are the best places to have your guns. You're not used to pulling it out of these weird arrangements.
Have leather holsters under their shoulders.
Yeah, it's easier.
Those suits are a pain in the dick, man.
Well, apparently one guy pulled it out and fucked up and fumbled with it and shot himself in the chest. In the chest.
Oh, my God.
In the chest, Jimmy. How do you shoot yourself in the chest by accident while pulling your gun out? That's the worst gangster I've ever heard in my fucking life. Think about that.
I hope he's alive, because that's hilarious.
That's the equivalent of taking a swing at somebody and taking too big a swing and coming around and punching yourself in the face. That's the same equivalent. Like, what are you doing, sir?
This is not for you.
You dumb motherfucker. That is so. Dance, boom, ow, my leg. Another guy pulls out. Oh, God, I shot myself in the chest. So No shots fired in anger. That's the thing. These are two.
And worse, no innocent bystanders so far.
Just themselves. Just themselves. So apparently this kid almost dies because he shot himself in the chest at close range.
That's where a couple of your vital organs are at, James.
You know, there's a lot in there in that general region. He said, I was scared because I was leaking blood all over the hardwood. When everybody in the gym hit the ground after hearing the 2 shots, I took my gun and slid it across the floor. Then I got up and limped away. Jesus Christ. The police started checking everybody as they walked out, but I had already made my escape. When my friends saw blood splattered down my right pant leg, they were naturally concerned. Well, no shit. Yeah. There's gunshots, you're limping and bleeding, you know. But I told them, I'm good. Right now, my concern is I've got an electronic monitoring bracelet on, and if I don't get home by 8 o'clock, 45 minutes from now, I'm in deep shit with my parole officer.
I can't go to the hospital.
Listen, I'm going to be bleeding one place or the other. It's either going to be bleeding as I walk home or bleeding in jail. So either way, I got to bleed.
Still bleeding.
Yep. He said that was the time the curfew started. He said sometimes the officer would allow him a little leeway to get in the door, 10 minutes or so. He said, I made it home by 8 o'clock. Good thing, too, because if the police officer had seen my wound, breaking curfew would have been the least of my problems. Yeah, think about Plaxico Burress. As I walked into my bedroom, the wound was bubbling and swelling up. Yeah, it's a fucking gunshot wound. Jesus Christ. He said, looking like a real bad burn. In addition, the bleeding hadn't stopped. I knew I should go to the hospital, but with the electronic bracelet on my ankle, if my parole officer was monitoring the signal, he would know that's where I had gone. And if the doctors there told him I had appeared to have a self-inflicted gunshot wound, I'm sure the parole board would have ruled that I violated my probation and would soon be back on my way to Ethan Allen. No shit.
What do you do?
He said, nope, I was going to have to handle this one myself.
Jesus, what?
I put a needle in alcohol and popped the expanding bubble of blood. Then I treated the area with Neosporin.
He rubbed Neosporin on it?
He put Neosporin on an open gunshot wound. It was like, that ought to do it. You just pour it on there and smooth it out like fucking spackle.
Did it go through his fucking leg, James?
He just put it on like just a flesh wound. I mean, it took a chunk out of him, it sounds like. She shot him and took a chunk of meat out of his leg.
Okay.
So,
all right.
But that's,
that's still pretty bad.
You don't
it's not that.
You don't put it on like putty. You don't spackle it up with Neosporin and expect it to be fine now. That's crazy. I've never heard anything like that before.
It's not like drywall where you just rub mud in it and let it harden. It's not.
If you put toothpaste in it, no one will ever notice. Like, that's never been said about a gunshot wound.
Neosporin doesn't turn into muscle and skin.
No, just fill the area with Neosporin. It'll regenerate the muscle.
That's not what happens.
And the tendons from the inside. So that's what he did.
Just spackled it closed?
Spackled it shut and done. That's it. All right, moving on.
Jesus. Caron's the toughest man alive.
He's a tough son of a bitch, this Caron. I like this guy. You cannot help but like him. You really can't. You can't help but like this dude.
The other thing is you can't kill him either. So
no, and even if you tried, he's so goddamn lucky he's like fucking Mr. Magoo. Something would fall, a safe would fall right behind him, and a car would swerve in front of him, and then
he'll just spackle it up with Neosporin and be fine anyway.
It's fine. I got my Neosporin on me. I just keep it on me in case I'm shot in the head or stabbed in the chest or anything. He said it took time for that wound to heal, but I was able to function while avoiding limping, so the incident remained a secret to all but my close friends. He just didn't tell anybody.
That is amazing.
That's fucking crazy. He shot himself and didn't tell anybody. Oh, man. So there's another incident here. See, when he decides to turn it around, he decides to turn it around, but there's still a lot of incidents of fuckery because he's a teenager. He said that him and a bunch of his friends bought a shitty car. Okay, they bought a shitty old car to drive around in. Nobody has a license. The car's not on the road. They just bought a car to drive around in. So he said they spent $800 for the car and another chunk of money to put a sound system in it that same day.
Yeah.
So that's what the car was for, driving around listening to beats. So he said we'd ride around loudly blaring the sounds of NWA and other groups. You're a little late for NWA. Who's blaring NWA in 1995?
Yeah.
Not me. I wasn't fucking. That's when I was driving around with Beats, and I wasn't fucking NWA.
No.
Fuck no. That shit was old and corny by then. You know?
Yeah, I suppose it was
95
old,
is all the Wu-Tang shit, Redman, fucking, Tupac, if you like West Coast shit, Biggie, Jay-Z's coming out the next year. Like, there's 95, there's a lot of good shit in that. Nas, like, there's a lot of good shit in 95 to where NWA sounded like it was from another century. It had that.
But this is Racine, James.
Yeah, but still, they would have heard 95. Even like Bone Thugs was out in 95. You know what I mean? Like, they would have heard that shit. That was Midwestern.
Yeah, that's true.
They would have heard that.
Why would you?
Yeah, NWA was
I guess at least you can understand the lyrics of NWA in 95.
You get, I guess.
Couldn't understand a fucking word Bone Thugs was saying.
Like, I remember you'd respect NWA as but they were like still like old school, even though they were like 6 years old. It was
they
like
were all on their own by now.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing anymore. Yeah, Ice Cube was Ice Cube and Dre was Dre and all that shit. And NWA was like, it had that drum, that old school, that old school drum beat with the, it's just, it wasn't what was good in 95.
Fun to hear you try to make it with your mouth, though.
the 1987 drum beat. What do you got? You got anything better for an 87 drum beat? Well, then don't talk any shit unless you're going to out here and do better.
It's fun.
You do better, Jimmy. You do better.
There was a West Coast whistle that went with it, though. You got to be.
That's it. No, that's it. We're having a fucking 87 NWA drum beat throwdown challenge right now, Jimmy. I'll do the beat and you go. You do that shit. Yeah, you do all that whistle shit they had.
Like that. I'm a bad
all
whistler.
That shit, yeah. See? So, anyway, they're riding around bumping shit.
Yeah.
He said, one night, I borrowed my mother's Isley Brothers cassette. That's a good choice, by the way.
Yeah.
And popped it into the player as we rolled down the street. With Tay-Tay behind the wheel, we pulled up at a red light. We were rocking the car pretty good from side to side to the beat of the music when Tay-Tay looked in his rearview mirror and saw two cops stopped 4 cars behind us. He said, police behind us, man. Looking around frantically, we all started screaming at him to turn down the music. We were so nervous because we were all carrying drugs. Nobody had a license, and there was no license plates on the car. Just none. So at a glance, you're definitely getting pulled over.
That's a Christmas gift for a cop with a quota.
4 children with no license plate. Okay, here we go. Yeah, talk about a fucking gift. He said, not too clever, but we were just foolish kids. None of us even in our teens. This was when they were, younger here. They were in their teens at this point. He said, that's when Tay-Tay panicked. He wasn't a good driver, even under the best of circumstances, and this was hardly that. He tried to make a smooth but quick turn. Instead, he hit the gas hard, then the brakes. So he went, panicked, hit the gas, and went, I'm going too fast, hit the brakes quick. Jesus. So we all went to the hospital with whiplash.
He doesn't look suspicious at all, Tay.
No, no one will notice that fucking smooth move. Whatever you do it smoothly. Whatever. Yeah. Do it casually and like you meant to. Don't look like you're fucking going crazy. He said, throwing us all forward violently. Then he says, quote, it unraveled quickly after that. We hit the curb, drove up on the sidewalk, and kept going straight toward the brick wall surrounding the S.C. Johnson Wax building.
Oh, my God.
We smashed right through that wall before stopping, bricks flying in the air, some of them crashing down on our car and smashing the windshield. Jesus Christ. We sat there for an instant, stunned, the Malibu half in and half out of the wall.
Yeah.
When the police swung around and shined a big spotlight on our car, it snapped us out of our collective daze. We fell all over each other trying to get out of the vehicle while making sure we didn't leave any telltale drugs behind. We all made it, but then a frightening realization hit me. Damn, I've got to get my mother's cassette out of the car. There's fingerprints on it. She's going to be pissed I took her Isley Brothers tape. Where the fuck is my Isley Brothers tape? Caron, get in here. Where is that shit? There's fingerprints on it. C said, so while everybody else scrambled in all directions, I turned around, leaned back in the car, thankful I had long arms, and got the tape out of the cassette by the length of my fingertips and took off again. So,
he went back for the Isley Brothers.
Had to get the Isley Brothers tape here. So January 1998, 17 years old, I guess he had the flu and a broken hand from a basketball game at this point. This is when he's playing organized ball and everything. Sure. He's 17. He said he's awakened by sirens and a crowd gathering outside his house. And he's like, what the fuck? So he said he'd stayed out of a trouble. This is a year out of jail, and he stayed out of trouble and everything. And he didn't know what the fuck was going on. So he said he just pulled the covers over his head and hoped it would go away. So apparently the police end up breaking down the door, which they don't go away usually, and they found him, in the bed. Yeah. They handcuffed him, and he's got a broken hand, so they're trying, he's like, ow, please be careful. They take him downstairs, put him on the couch. Apparently there's this cop named Richard Geller, and I'll say his name because Caron gives him a lot of credit later on. He said this cop and a bunch of other cops scoured the whole house, and they found about half ounce of coke there in the garage. Now, he said it was about, half ounce, about $1,500 worth at the time. He said, quote, it wasn't mine, but it wasn't a surprise to me either. There were always people going in and out of that garage from the street, hiding stuff. I understood that. That was the code of the street. You never denied your friends and neighbors access to a safe haven. All I knew for sure was that the drugs did not belong to me. Now, the Geller guy is the head of the drug investigation unit for Racine's police department, and he heard a tip that there was drug activity in the garage. So, all by the way, too, he shares that his mother lives there, his younger brother lives there. He said that the cop said, to be honest, I had no idea who we'd find in the house. They said since he was the only person in the house, Caron's alone in the house, and he's got the coke.
Oh, no.
So the cop said, I could obviously arrest you here. You have possession, and you're the only one here. You could get 10 years in prison for this because of your previous record, and literally you get 10 years if I take you to jail right now. And Caron said it would have been bad for me, period. So the cop said, I sat down with him. I saw tears well up in his eyes like he can't believe this is happening. I also noticed that he had burns all over his hands. And I said to him, where'd you get all those burns on your hands? And he said, from the fryer at Burger King.
Yeah,
while he was crying.
I've been making so many tacos.
He said, I don't recall ever coming into contact with a drug dealer that was also working at Burger King, which is, you quit Burger King when you're you're wasting your money, your time there. So he said Butler's mother arrived while the two officers were deliberating what to do with him, shocked to find police in her home after a trip to get flu medicine for him. So the cop says he pulled the mom aside and she begged him. She said, please, I promise you, if you give Caron a chance on this, you'll never look back. You won't ever have to worry about him. And Geller ends up saying, quote, I'm not saying that Caron might not have been involved in something at that point, but in my gut, I was pretty confident that the dope wasn't his. I'd done my homework. If this had been a situation where I knew going in that Caron was the guy selling the dope, that he was the responsible party, I'm not going to lie to you, he would have been escorted out of that house. Right. But he said he eventually decided to let him go and not arrest him. And he said, I thought it was the right thing to do to see if he had a chance to go on the right path. So, yeah, again, never should have heard of him. If he how many times does this happen? You're there, you go in, he's on fucking parole, done. That's it. Doesn't matter whether he's guilty, not guilty, parole violation, he's going back, period.
It's unbelievable.
That's it. So, Geller said that he left, Geller and his supervisor left Butler with a warning. Butler said, they told me if you get in trouble again, anything to do with narcotics again, you're taking this case too. So he's like, then we're going to say that it was yours because you're going to prove to us that you were full of shit here and you were doing something. Right. So Butler said, I was like, you don't have to worry about that. So, yeah, don't have to worry about that.
Truly unbelievable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. So he ends up, by the way, during this time period, he has his daughter that we talked about. He ends up having a son during this time as well.
He has two kids.
Two kids.
Two kids, graduates high school,
drug busts, and a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Yeah.
So of course he'll make millions of dollars in the NBA, right? Like who the hell would have thought this is possible? His son, by the way, Caron Jr.
You betcha.
He's doing everything to make sure to set himself up for failure, and somehow he succeeds. It's amazing. It's amazing. So he goes to he wants to get into the Maine Central Institute, which is a private school. He said he needed, I don't know where, I think it's in Maine.
Oh.
Yeah, Maine Central Institute. I don't know where the fuck it is here. Oh, no. I guess it was in Wisconsin. So,
hilarious.
Maine, Wisconsin. There you go. He asked a local drug dealer for the money to pay for tuition because they have cash. Nobody else does. So he said it was about $5,000 tuition. And he said, this is Butler, quote, the drug dealer said, quote, get off these streets and give it to me. No strings attached. And he gave it to me. No strings attached.
Wow.
Just told him, get the fuck out of here. He said, first I asked a cousin who was hustling in the streets and doing quite well, bringing in the kind of big bucks I used to make. He said to come over to his house and he would give me the money. I went over there several times, but he was never home. Was he ducking me? I didn't have time to find out. So I went to another drug dealer, a guy named Jimmie Harris, and told him my situation. He knew me, knew my story, and was a friend of the family. I told him I needed $5,500, but could really use a little cushion, maybe $6,000 or $7,000 just to be on the safe side. I gotcha, he said. When do you need it by? I told him, shit, I need it like yesterday. He drove me to his house and gave me the money that quick.
Wow.
So, yeah, he ended up being able to play there. In his one season, 97-98, where he played for Park, he earned first-team Associated Press All-State honors that year. So on the court, he's awesome. 24.3 points, 11.1 rebounds a game. So not bad. And his team went 19-3 that season, and they were 4-17 the season before. So
he's a good addition.
Caron makes a difference. Now, in addition to him, check this out. Slide your chair over. I'll move it because otherwise you're not going to be able to recognize him. This I found in this newspaper here. Didn't realize this. Look at somebody else they're talking about.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Tony's from there?
Tony Romo is apparently from there because that's definitely him. That's his name.
Yeah.
With an average of 24.8 points per game, Romo has a higher scoring average than even Butler. He says
Wait a minute. Tony Romo played basketball?
Apparently so. They talk about he's also all-state in football as Burlington's star quarterback.
There you go.
So there you go.
Hell of a complexion on him. He really suffered. Jesus.
8.8 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 3.1 steals per game for him, by the way. Yeah, Tony Romo was a bad motherfucker on the court, apparently.
Yeah.
So he said at this point in high school he started doing well, and people started looking at him, and colleges started looking at him, and then he had options to go to big schools. And he said, I started replaying the journey that had brought me here. I thought about how far our family had come from the cotton fields of Mississippi. I thought about the decades my grandmother had put in working at a tractor manufacturing plant in Racine to help my mother and her other children. I thought about my mother working 1, 2, 3 shifts a day, piling up so many hours her nickname became overtime, all to make sure my brother and I would have a better life. So he's very happy. He ends up choosing UConn, University of Connecticut. Yeah.
Is that right?
He also, his final schools that he had to choose from were UNLV, DePaul, Georgetown, St. John's, and Kentucky were his main choices that he narrowed.
Are you kidding me?
It's all the big ones. And he ended up with UConn, who had won a national championship a couple years earlier, so they were a powerhouse. When he first gets there at the pre-college summer program, he meets a young lady named Andrea Pink, who ends up becoming his wife in a few years, and I believe they're still together. So he met her here.
So the girl that he ends up marrying doesn't have his children yet.
No, they'll have 3 later on,
Okay.
but not now. He's got 2 from earlier.
Yeah.
So 2000-2001 for UConn, they go 20-12. They don't go to the tournament, it doesn't look like here. Caron averages 15.3 points a game, 7.6 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 2.2 steals. Does great as a freshman. He is the 2000-2001 Big East All-Freshman team he makes. And, so there he goes. 2001-2002, they do better. The Huskies are 27-7 this year. Not too shabby. This is when they get a couple. They get Ben Gordon in there. Amika Okafor comes in. They got some future NBA talent to go along with Caron here. They win in the first round. They beat Hampton. Then they beat North Carolina State. Then they beat Southern Illinois. And then finally they lose to number 1 Maryland that year.
Yeah. At 6'7", is he playing center or is he playing power forward?
He's playing small forward. He's a 3.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's a 3. In college, he might have gone maybe back and forth because they'll move guys around. But in the NBA, he's a 3. He plays small forward.
Yeah, because 6'7" not huge in the NBA, but in college, that's pretty big, right?
It's I would say absolutely. Back then, especially, I don't know if I don't know. They'll move guys
6'8".
I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully your center's 6'11", 7 foot, but it doesn't happen very much anymore.
Yeah.
So that year, 36 minutes a game, by the way. That's what he's averaging. That's almost the whole damn game.
The whole damn game, yeah.
20.3 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.1 steals is what he does. He is the All Big East first team, the Big East Player of the Year, the All Big East Tournament first team, Big East Tournament MVP, and 2002 NCAA Tournament All Region team as well. So
the most successful in deep drug dealer ever.
Hugely successful. So before the draft, he said some of the agents were trying to. He said they were trying to use him to boost up their own clients. Yeah. Like, you don't want him. You should pick my guy because he's a drug dealer and look at his criminal record and all that shit.
You better watch your mouth.
Yeah, right? I shot myself. I shot myself. What do you think I'll do to you? He said, those agents would tell me, we respect how you made it through all the hardships you've endured, selling drugs and the gang activity, and now that's going to work in your favor because team officials are not going to worry about you getting millions of dollars and messing yourself up. No, they'll figure you've been through all that already. They're going to worry more about the kid who's never had any real money. When drafted, he's going to get exposed to it for the first time. He said that's kind of the strategy his agents are going to take as far as like he's had money. That's old for him. He just wants to play basketball now. So the 2002 NBA draft, I think they're in the Felt Forum because he said Cher had a concert in the Garden that night, so they're in the smaller venue, which is probably Felt Forum. He said it was a nice, intimate setting, very good. He said his mother was there, his grandmother came, his fiance Andrea, his brother Melvin, his agent was there, his AAU coach was there. All of his people were there that he wants to have with him. He said it was the first time my grandmother, who was born and raised in Mississippi, had ever been to New York. So that's pretty funny. She said, quote, people don't ever go to sleep here. Every time you look out the window, somebody's moving somewhere. People got to do things all night long here, which is fucking funny. He said, he said he was told that he could expect to be drafted anywhere from 3rd to 12th. Which is a
pretty solid,
big difference, but still great. So now he said that he invited his fiance's mother because his fiance's mother didn't really approve of their plans to marry and didn't really understand what he was doing or that basketball was a thing.
Okay.
I don't understand how a person in 2002 doesn't understand that someone who's going to be drafted into the NBA is going to make a decent living. And will have a job. You know what I'm saying?
Solid paycheck for your girl. Yeah.
She didn't get that yet somehow. Mike didn't notice the Gatorade commercials and none of that shit. That all flew right over her head, I guess.
She's
Space
never heard
Jam.
of Kobe Bryant.
The Dream Team. The USA Dream. Never heard of it. No idea.
Okay.
So Andrea, he says, quote, I need to bring my mom, Andrea told me, because she needs to see that this is real, that this is something that can secure our future. Otherwise, she's not going to let me leave with you. In her mind, you're just some boy without a job. He's like, what? I'm at the job fair, though. This is fucking crazy. She needs to come to the job fair and see there's actual employers interested in employing you before we're allowed to get married. This is hilarious. She couldn't have read like a pre-draft report or something. So, she said that her later Andrea, conceded that she even said Andrea to her. She said it was the unknown. Mm-hmm. Andrea said, quote, I didn't understand it. I know there are plenty of talented players who don't even get drafted. I was listening to Caron say that he was going to be in the top 10, but I didn't know what the hell the top 10 meant. I'd never even watched the draft before. So she said that that day, though, it was different. Her mom noticed that like all the people in the crowd, all the cameras, all the media, and everybody writing down anything anybody says. And she said, her mom said, oh, this is something serious. Okay. Right. Yes. She didn't notice that the NBA was a serious thing. It's on like 5 channels.
Look how many suits are on people here. There's not a person here in a T-shirt.
It's on so many channels, Jimmy. Right. Like, it's so much. Michael Jordan had come and gone by then. How did you miss that? How the fuck did you miss basketball?
Michael Jordan, matter of fact, is sitting at a table right there writing down who he's selecting because he owns one of these teams.
Owns a fucking entire team. It's fucking crazy. So here comes the draft. Number 1 pick in the 2002 NBA draft, Jimmy.
2002? Shit.
Might get this
Dirk,
one.
was it Nowitzki?
No, it's not.
Amari Stoudemire?
He's in that draft, but not first. Yao Ming, number 1.
Was it Yao?
Yao, number 1,
Oh,
man.
they had so much buzz around him. It was
Fuck
gonna
yeah.
be so great.
He goes to the Rockets. Jay Williams from Duke. Remember him?
What?
Yeah, Jay Williams from Duke, the point guard, goes to the Bulls second. Mike Dunleavy Jr. to the Warriors.
Jason Williams? Is that what you mean?
Jay Williams, not that one.
No?
It's a different one. Yeah, different
no
one.
idea.
Drew Gooden, he was around for a long time from Kansas there. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, we got DeJuan Wagner. Nene's coming up here. Chris Wilcox from the Clippers here. Number 9, Amari Stoudemire.
There you go.
To the Suns. And then number 10 overall, so top 10, Caron Butler goes to the Miami Heat.
Right.
Absolutely, going to the Heat. And the rest of that first round, not a lot going on here, really.
You're telling me a man who sold drugs in Wisconsin is going to be dropped off in fucking Miami?
Drop him off in Miami. Yep.
Oh,
here you go.
God. How
Enjoy.
could this go bad?
There's no cocaine and nobody hangs out outside here, so you should be fine. Everything should be good.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, maybe like,
put that man in Utah. Send him to Salt Lake.
I was going to say, something like that. Salt Lake City, Sacramento, maybe. Not a lot going on there. It's pretty quiet. Pretty quiet there. Maybe Portland.
Get that man to fucking Indianapolis. Well, he can figure out the Midwest.
Yeah.
Miami's
maybe like
the
Portland.
worst one.
Yeah, Portland. He'll just get a dog and sit outdoors and eat at restaurants.
Go eat sidewalk cafes.
Just go eat at a sidewalk cafe, pet strangers' dogs. But yeah, Miami's where they're going to send him instead. So he's drafted by the Heat. This is my fucking favorite. As he gets up to the commissioner here, he says to him, this is what David Stern then, he says, "Congratulations, how do you feel?" Caron says, "Fucking great." Which is the most human thing ever. What would either of us have said? Fucking
great,
awesome.
man.
I feel great, brother. What are you talking about? So he said his eyes opened wide. He paused. Then he started laughing. And I repeated, "Fucking great, man."
Mr. Stern, I've been an adult as long as you have.
Yeah, this is crazy. I was selling newspapers and crack at the same time years ago. Like before Jordan won a title. Like I was selling crack in newspapers. So he said back home in Racine, apparently cars were driving around honking horns and all that. It was like a hometown celebration that he got drafted. So 2002, 2003 with the Miami Heat. Pat Riley is the coach. They finished 25-57 this year.
Yikes.
Not very good. I'm looking at this team. Travis Best, LaFonso Ellis, Brian Grant, Eddie House.
Yeah. Poor Eddie.
Yeah, poor Eddie. Eddie Jones was on this team, and he was good. I mean, this is not a stacked team at all. They don't do very well, and because of that, he plays in 36.6 minutes a game as a rookie.
Not
so
bad.
That's huge as a rookie.
Yeah,
15.4 points, 5 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 1.8 steals. Not too not too shabby. Even better, he makes $1,678,800.
That's unbelievable.
Boom. That's a lot of newspapers and French fries right there.
That's changing lives.
That's huge. 2003, 2004, they go 42-40 that year, go to the playoffs, beat the Hornets in the first round, and then lose to the Pacers in the second round there. Stan Van Gundy took over as coach this year. Caron, 29.9 points a game. I don't know what happened here. He's only in 68 games. He had an injury here. I'm not positive. 9.2 points, 4.8 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.1 steals. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. He does make $1,804,680. So
very important to this team.
That's good. Yeah, that's not bad. Now, I guess we have to talk about his straw thing, right?
What?
His straw obsession He's got an obsession with chewing on straws.
Really?
It's a big. If you ever seen him on a bench, he's always got a straw hanging out of his mouth.
He takes it with him to the bench.
He's like an old hillbilly whittling and chewing on a fucking wheat fucking stalk. That's what he's doing. But
with
not
a straw like that. It's a drinking straw.
A drinking straw.
Yeah.
He's known for it. His favorite straws were McDonald's straws.
Yeah,
he said they had
the
right
fat.
Bounce to them and fat. He said that in 2010 the NBA banned him from chewing straws during games. Because he'd have one, he'd chew them during games, have it in his mouth like gum.
Yeah. While he's playing?
While he's playing, he'd have it in. Yeah, chewing it like gum. The NBA said it was a safety issue.
Yeah.
He chewed he chews these plastic straws for years and years since he was a kid. He chews up to 12 a game. He would cut them up like little Coke straws and pop them in. That's what he did. He'd get these straws, cut them up into little Coke fucking tubes, and then he'd chew them. That was his whole deal. Yeah. He said he started doing it as a teenager. He said it calmed me down. Then it became one of those things you keep doing. Mm-hmm. Just kept like a habit. So July 14th, 2004, the Heat decide they need to trade him. He is traded by the Heat with Brian Grant and Lamar Odom, all going from the Heat, and a first-round draft pick the next year, and a 2007 second-round draft pick. All of this for Shaquille O'Neal.
James.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, is that right?
That's when Miami got Shaq. Yeah, that's how they got Shaq.
They traded Caron. 2 first-rounders and 3 garbage times for him?
1 first-rounder, 1 second-rounder, so that's nothing. Okay. And then they traded Caron, Lamar Odom, and Brian Grant.
And where the hell did they go?
Miami. Or out L.A.
L.A.
They went to Miami. They went from Miami to L.A. L.A. got Shaq went to Miami. So this is in the Tough Juice, Caron Butler's book. Kobe Bryant writes the foreword on that thing. Yeah. And I'll tell you what he says here. Quote, when we got Caron Butler in a trade prior to the 2002 through 2003 season, which is not true. It's the 2004-2005 season, as a matter of fact. You're way off, Kobe.
Bad memory, Kobe.
Yeah, that is, Jesus Christ, man.
I guess, when somebody enters your life isn't near as important to Kobe at that point. But I don't know, you can really mark every bit of success based on who was around Kobe.
I just had to bite my tongue on about the meanest joke ever that I cannot say because I'll definitely get in trouble for it. So remind me after the show to tell you what joke that was because me and you are going to cackle like fucking children. So
he should definitely know times, though.
I would say so. He said that Laker general manager Mitch Kupchak gave Caron my phone number, and Caron called me right away. Kobe said, great to have you, ready to go to work, and he said that he was ready. He said from the moment he stepped on the court at the training site, he was totally focused. He was competitive, no nonsense. Caron was just what they needed. He said, that's all I needed to see. That's all I ever need to see from a teammate to appreciate him. He said, Caron and I bonded on day one, and that bond remains as strong today as it ever was, even though now he wears a different uniform. Once I heard about Caron's background, where he started from, the obstacles that had been in front of him, the danger all around him as he grew up, I marveled at how far he had come and how much he had accomplished. If I were going into a battle, if I were going into a game where everything was on the line, I would want him with me. He's not afraid of the big moment, not afraid of an altercation, and I have tremendous amount of respect for him because of that. He was only 24 when he joined us, but he had already been face-to-face with potential disaster and death more times than most of us will confront in a lifetime. That alters one's perspective. A lot of players, when they deal with crisis off on the court, they believe they're experiencing the ultimate pressure imaginable. But when you go through real things in life, when you're tested time and time again with far more at stake than just victory or defeat, your view of what constitutes pressure changes. So he goes on to talk about how Caron taught him that, how to deal with real pressure, and that if he could deal with that, then basketball's not hard. And he said that to tell a teammate that he's not working hard, to challenge people at practice is nothing to Caron. He's challenged people who were carrying weapons. That's interesting. He said we were usually together on the road, going out to dinner or just hanging out. He said he became close with Caron's family, and Caron became close to his family. They'd go to their kids' birthday parties and shit like that. He said when the Lakers were in Milwaukee for a game, he invited everyone on the team to his mother's house in Racine for dinner. So Kobe went over there, big cookout, lots of food, good music. and all that kind of shit. So he says, quote, I clearly remember the day when the Lakers traded Caron, and he said he was so fucking pissed when they traded Caron. Mm-hmm. So was happy to get rid of Shaq, but really fucking pissed when they traded Caron Butler, which is funny as shit.
Yeah.
So 2004, 2005, the Lakers finished 34-48. So maybe Shaq didn't. I think they won 3 championships in a row before that. So maybe Shaq wasn't
the problem.
Maybe he wasn't the issue there. Just a thought. So this team is Kobe and Vlade Divac still on this team.
Yeah,
Devin George and Lamar Odom was there before he got traded. This is just not whatever. This isn't the greatest team. Now,
this is
Caron,
Vlade's like victory lap of retirement because he was at the Kings for quite some time too, right? Before he came back to L.A.?
He's an executive within like 2 years of this.
Okay.
He's like somebody's GM or some shit. So Caron that year, 35.7 minutes a game. He starts all 77 games he plays in. 15.5 points, 5.8 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.4 steals. Not bad. Makes $1,930,680 that year.
Wow.
Not too shabby.
Great.
And he goes
from Miami up to L.A., the two
to
biggest
LA.
Coke markets in
just
America.
Two biggest Coke party. He's fine
with it.
Doing great. No Coke. Marries goes to L.A. or goes to Vegas and marries Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
They get hooked up here. They're eventually going to have 3 daughters together.
Wow.
So that's nice. August 2nd, 2005 is when he is traded by the Lakers with Chucky Atkins to the Washington Wizards for Kwame Brown
Yeah.
and LaRon Profit. Wow. So 2005, Butler starts visiting incarcerated children here. So
really?
Kids in jail at the Oak Hill Youth Detention Center located in D.C. there. He says to provide his life story and help the kids out with some encouragement. And he also helped organize some community outreach event, Urban Dialogue, Stop the Violence in Racine. And, he also chose to sponsor the Cops and Kids Legacy Project. It's a unique initiative that strives to bring new life into the community by encouraging communication and strong relationships between kids and law enforcement officers. So, that's what he's doing there. He also does the Bike Brigade, which distributes new bikes and helmets to youth in Racine and D.C.
That's awesome.
So he's doing every bit of charity that he could possibly fucking do here. 2005, 2006, he's in Washington. Like we said, they go 42-40 and lose to the Cavaliers in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah. So, this is the Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah.
Got that team there.
And within proximity of Baltimore. Like he is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And D.C. You think there's no Coke in D.C.?
Yeah, right.
Jesus.
That's
yeah,
all
tons
the
of
politicians that love it.
He could make so much more money just selling Coke to these people.
Just sitting on Capitol Hill.
That's what I mean. 36.1 minutes a game, 17.6 minutes a game, 6.2 rebounds. He does make $2,461,617. So maybe playing ball is better than the Coke, even there. 2006, 2007, they're 41-41. And he loses they lose here, gets swept by the Cavs in the first round.
Yeah.
You don't want to get swept by any Cleveland team. No, bad.
This is LeBron's Cavaliers, though, right?
Yeah, this is that. Yeah, this is them now. Now, 2006, 2007, because he was 2003 draft, LeBron.
Was he?
So, LeBron, Caron, not LeBron. I'm trying to say Caron, and I got LeBron coming out of my mouth. He plays in 39.3 minutes a game, so that is up there. 19.1 minutes a game, or 19.1 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, 3.7 assists. He's crushing it.
Wow, yeah.
And he is an all-star that year, as a
Wow.
matter of fact. So he makes the all-star team. And he makes, as well as the all-star team, $7,438,000.
That's his payday year. Jeez.
That's his year. Yeah, this is his contract year.
Mm-hmm.
He also does something incredibly fucking cool this year. He goes to a surprise birthday party for a 16-year-old kid named Anthony Fidel, whose parents just invited him. They don't know him at all, but he was a huge fan of his. The kid lives in Washington, D.C., huge fan of Butler. And they were like, I don't know. They just sent an invite to the deal, and he went. And it was not reported at the time because he told the Wizards not to do anything. Don't send anybody. Don't take any pictures because he didn't want it to be covered in the press because he said it would kind of take away from the sincerity of it, and he didn't want the kid to think he was going there for a PR stunt. Right. He just thought it was a cool thing to do.
I'm doing this for this kid.
And that's exactly what he did. No one heard about it till years later.
That is awesome.
It was like, till the family was like, that motherfucker's awesome. He came to our birthday party. That's crazy. Do you understand that? He just showed up with
a Ninja Turtle party.
He showed up with just a rap twister game ready to go. Like,
he held the string for the piñata.
He held the string. He's tall. Our beams are too. It's the only way we could do it.
That's amazing. What a guy.
Nice guy. So 2007-2008 Wizards, 43-39, and guess who they lose to in the first round of the playoffs again? Goddamn Cavs. Now, Caron, 39.9 minutes a game. He is 20.3 points a game, so he hits that 20 mark. That's magical. 6.7 rebounds, 4.9 assists, so that's a career high by far. He raised his assists more than a whole assist a game this year.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome, and 2.2 steals a game, too, which is a shitload of steals. He's nasty. He's also an all-star again this year.
Unbelievable.
2 years in a row. He makes $8,218,990 that year.
And there's somebody that saw him on SportsCenter and was like, that dude sold me rock 2 years ago.
I shot myself in the chest because that guy shot himself in the leg. I handed him a reefer.
Because of that guy, I shot my aorta.
I shot my aorta. Barely survived. Lucky to be here. 2008, 2009. Again, he averages 20.8 points a game this year. So over 20 points again. 6.2 rebounds, 4.3 assists. I don't know how he doesn't make the All-Star team again this year, but he doesn't. Consolation prize. He does make $9,249,980. So
all-star, small star. Who gives a shit?
I'll fucking stay home and watch that shit on TV and order some shit from offline there. So now
I'll sit in my giant house and watch it.
And just happily. I'll buy furniture so I'm more comfortable. My giant house. Now Butler's main addiction. Some people it's cocaine, and he's seen that a lot. He has an addiction to straws and to Mountain Dew.
Oh,
he's highly addicted to Mountain Dew.
Oh,
he said he calls it an addiction. He said in the summer of 2009, he blogged on NBA.com that he lost 11 pounds just by giving up his daily addiction of soda. Yeah. He said he was drinking like 6 bottles of Dew a day. So like those are like those 20 ounces.
Yeah.
He was drinking like 6 of those a day, which is a shitload of soda. That's a lot of soda. That's obviously, it's 120 ounces of soda. It's a lot. He said that he was doing that. He said, quote, I was going through withdrawals when he quit. Yeah. We'll talk about it. He said, honestly, those first 2 weeks without Dew were the roughest 2 weeks of my life.
The man's been to prison, James.
He's been to prison. He's been to adult maximum security prison as a teenager. He's had his friends murdered in front of him. He's shot himself. He's fucking seen his mother struggle.
So much work.
Hardest thing of my life, man. Most difficult weeks of my life, he said. That's wild. He said, I'm talking headaches, sweats, everything.
Yeah.
His caffeine withdrawal is what you got going on there. He said he used to drink it before practice, and he would knock back 2 of them before games just to get extra jacked, to have all the sugar and caffeine. A lot of guys do a big sugar load before games.
Yeah, but not Mountain Dew.
Well, sugar, it really doesn't fucking matter. But like, have you ever...
But Mountain Dew, James, heard it's so heavy in your stomach?
No, I wouldn't drink 40 ounces of any carbonated liquid before I had to go run around. You'd think it would be swirling around, but Sugar Rush is do you ever hear what David Letterman would do before shows?
No.
He'd get like 5 Hershey bars. They come in those little rectangles.
Yeah.
He would sit there while they were doing the stuff, right pre-show, and break apart all the Hershey bars while he was doing it into the little rectangles and stack them up in the little stacks of rectangles, and then he would pop all these stacks in his mouth as he's doing the show, and then by the time he's done eating the last one, it's showtime, and he's fucking sugar high and ready to go. So he's got energy. Because you don't want to come out flat. You don't want to come out looking flat. You got to come out, hey, everybody, don't change the channel. I'm David Letterman. Fucking shit. Jay Leno sucks. Look at me.
Commercial.
Yeah. That's what it is. So
I figured it was that big cup of goddamn coffee he had every day.
No, it was he'd eat 5-6 Hershey bars before every show. That was his thing that he did. So He said at one point, quote, "I'm a Mountain Dew addict. There's a lot of sugar in Mountain Dew, but it's so good." It's just so good, he says. He loves it. That's what's funny. He doesn't even hate it. He's like, it's just so good. I just want to drink it.
It's like Frank the Tank with booze.
Yeah, he said during his years in the league, many players have encouraged him to quit. They said, what the fuck is wrong with you? Broke his balls about it. Like, yo, you're like a top-tier athlete. You can't be sucking down Mountain Dews like that shit.
LeBron does commercials for Sprite, but he's not drinking the shit. Stop it.
No shit, he's never drinking any of that. He said, though, it's just something he couldn't totally cut out. He said, quote, "You're sitting in the back of the bus and eating the right thing, and guys will be like, why are you drinking that?" And I'm like, what's wrong with Mountain Dew? And guys are just shaking their heads. They've got a water and those special crushed juices, and I'm drinking a big Mountain Dew, just downing it frozen and stuff. And they're like, this guy, he's not going to make it. That's what they thought of him at first.
He's killing
and he can
himself
still play
in front of us.
He said he tried to hide it when he played with Kobe Bryant because Kobe was real big about diet and would break guys' balls about what they were eating. And he said he'd just shake his head at me. He said so when he was on the Lakers, he went to extreme lengths to try to get Kobe to not see him drinking it. He said, quote, "I tried to slide it under the chair or something." He said,
like it's booze or contraband.
Listen to how he says this next one. It's like he was, instead of selling Coke, he's had a giant Coke problem is what this line sounds like. Quote, "Guys knew I needed help. I still do. That's like the battle I can't get away from. I can get away from the streets. I can get away from all these different things. I can't get away from Mountain Dew." I got the monkey. I got the green monkey on my back. He's hyper as fuck, and I can't get him off me.
He should have saved that shit for an email to Pepsi. I'm sure they would love to hear him say that as you take a giant pull
as I take
from your Mountain Dew.
I feel you, is what I'm getting at, Caron. I'm not saying this to make fun of Caron Butler for us. I'm saying this because I don't drink 6 bottles of it a day.
Caron, James just shotgunned a can of Mountain Dew.
Yes. I only like the real sugar Mountain Dew.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's not bad.
I have a couple of them a day. I don't eat
time to time. It's not.
It's a can or two a day.
120 ounces a day.
It's not like I don't do it like when guys get home and they're like, beer me, and then they have a constant beer for the rest of the time.
Do me.
Yeah.
Do me.
Do me. Do me. More love after lockup. Do me. Do me.
Maybe that's
what
her. She meant. She wanted him to throw her a Mountain Dew.
Do me. And then Caron Butler comes over. Oh my God, Jesus Christ.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. It takes me like 6 hours to drink one.
So. On being the face of Mountain Dew,
God.
James.
2 bottles, just bukkake on himself, fucking pouring it over his face. Oh God, I love the Dew. Do the Dew, I'm fucking it. Never mind doing it. I can get away from the streets, but I can't get away from that Mountain Dew. That's great shit.
Poor bastard.
Poor bastard. Oh, that's awesome. So summer 2009, he organized Caron's 3D Summer Explosion, a summer-long program that included events almost every weekend for kids. He organized a day of service, a charity basketball game, a free basketball clinic, his annual bike brigade, as well as back-to-school supply drive for kids in the area. Jesus fucking Christ. What is he, the best guy ever? What the hell's going on here?
Superman.
In 2012, he kept going and donated $200,000 to the local United Way in Wisconsin there as well. This dude is crazy, man. He's fucking real nice guy. So 2009 is the Washington. He gets traded in the middle of this, but this is the gun incident here with Gilbert Arenas. Now, we talked about it from Javaris Crittenton's side last time in that I don't think we really went through the entire Caron Butler. We had excerpts from it, but this is the whole incident from the book here. He said that on the flight home after we lost to Phoenix, Crittenton and several other players were in a card game. That's what we heard. It got real heated. Gilbert was dominating. He said he was a dominating presence on his team, and Javaris didn't really go along with it all that much, Javaris Crittenton. So he said they were facing each other with a pull-out table between them, and he said I was in the seat next to them half asleep as we started landing in D.C. He said, my eyes popped when I heard Javaris say, put the money back. Put the fucking money back. Gilbert said, I ain't putting shit back. Get it the way Tyson got the title. That's what he said to him. Get it the way Tyson got the title. In other words, you got to fight me for it. God damn. He said, might or fight or whatever you got to do to get your money back. Otherwise, you ain't getting it. So when Gilbert put the money in his pocket, Javaris lunged over the table to grab him. Antoine Jameson, seated across, leaped up and shoved Javaris' shoulder down on the table and held him there with his, which fucking Jameson was a stocky guy and Javaris was skinny as fuck. So he held him down. Caron said, I got up and yelled, hey, everybody, shut the fuck up. That's what he says.
Everybody, I'm a drug dealer.
Hey, everybody, shut the fuck up for a minute here. Let me deal this. He said, how much was in the pot? And it was $1,100. And he said, quote, he said to Gilbert Arenas, it shouldn't be that hard to pay what you owe him. We all make a great living, so just pay the money. And this Gilbert Arenas had a $111 million contract. He's fighting over $1,100. The two of them kept arguing as they were landing. They were still going at it when they all got to the airport. They got to the shuttle van. They're still arguing and fucking grumbling back and forth. So he said the team president, Ernie Grunfeld, leaned over and said to him, to Caron, and said, talk to them, please. Like, you're the adult here. We trust you. You're an adult.
I'll give you a Mountain Dew if you fix this.
I'll donate so many bikes, and I'll give you all the Mountain Dew you want. I'll put a fucking fountain in back there, just a Mountain Dew fountain. Just
please go make them
put your cup up. And he said, I did. And he said, but they kept arguing. And he said everyone could hear them as they rode along. I'll see your fucking ass at practice, and you know what I do. And Gilbert said, what the fuck you mean you know what I do? And Javaris said, I play with guns. So Gilbert said, well, I play with guns too.
Yeah.
So that's what they're talking about. They're going to shoot each other at practice now over $1,100. So he said the next day, that they had the next day off, but after that, the next day they had practice, started at 10 o'clock. Said they all came in, they get in, and he said that he, quote, I thought I had somehow been transported back to the days of my days on the streets of Racine, which is not what you want to hear. Gilbert was standing in front of his two locker stalls, the ones previously used by Michael Jordan, with 4 guns on display.
Oh, boy.
Not needed.
He said, $1,100 from me. I have 4 guns. Oh.
I have 4 guns. Javaris was standing in front of his own stall, his back to Gilbert. Hey, motherfucker, come pick one, Gilbert told Javaris while pointing at the weapons. I'm going to shoot your ass with one of these. So we heard that he told him to pick which gun he's going to shoot him with. Oh, no, you don't need to shoot me with one of those, said Javaris, turning around slowly like a gunslinger in the Old West. I've got one right here. And he pulls his own gun. Oh, we heard about that. I've got 2 guns, one for each of you. So he pulled his own gun, already loaded, cocked, and pointed at Gilbert. Other players who'd been casually arriving, laughing and joking with each other, came to a sudden halt, their eyes bulging out. It took them only a few seconds to realize this was for real, a shoot-around of a whole different nature. They all looked at each other and then ran, the last man out locking the door behind him. I remember that. I didn't panic because I'd been through far worse, heard gunshots more times than I could count, and seen it all before. This would have been just another day on the South Side. By the way, everybody ran except for Caron. He stayed around here to hang out with the gunplay.
This is going to get good.
Yeah, this shit's about to get real. I got to stick around for this. Well, if you leave them alone, they're definitely going to shoot each other. So that's,
if Caron sticks around, he at least gets a great chapter in his book.
At least he's going to sell another 100,000 copies at the very least. He said, I talked calmly to Javaris, reminding him that his entire career, not to mention perhaps his life, would be over if he flicked that little trigger finger. I looked back at Gilbert. He was silent as he removed himself from the scene. Javaris lowered the gun. I know Gilbert was thinking I went too far. I had a gun pointed at me and it was fully loaded. Yeah, I would say. Somebody outside the locker room called 911. Flip Sanders was the coach back then, but he was too scared to even come in the locker room.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking getting shot. He's like, Caron's got this. He's very mature. I feel like he can handle this. No, he's going to do it. I made him an honorary assistant coach about 10 minutes ago, so he's going to take care of this, I feel like.
The president handled him as the spokesperson for the locker room on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to them. You talk to them. Who signs their checks? You or me, motherfucker? He said, I was under no illusions that many of the rest of us were not going to be affected by the gun incident. I knew that this was the end of the Washington franchise as we had known it. With Mr. Pollen gone, a new regime coming in, and the image of the team shattered by guns that weren't even fired, it was time to tear up the Wizards, wipe the roster clean, and start all over again. Grunfeld warned me that that was going to happen. Quote, we might have to trade everyone, he said. Rebuild from scratch, looking forward to the future. All I said was, okay. What else could I say? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So now Gilbert Arenas is pissed off at Caron Butler's explanation from the book. He's got a response to Caron here, which is fucking great, obviously, because this is ridiculous.
What does he have to say?
He wasn't happy. He went on his Instagram account after the book came out to correct some shit, mostly about who owed who money. He said that, and obviously Caron put it, Arenas owed Crittenden $1,100. Arenas wants to make it clear that Crittenden was not mad at him over money owed, but because he believed Arenas misdealt a hand of cards.
Okay.
So it was the $1,100. Exactly. $1,100 over the, didn't lose the hand. He cost him $1,100 with a misdealt, which is cheating. You don't misdeal. There is no misdealing. No. There's dealing correctly and cheating. There's only two options there. That's all you got.
I'm not cheap. I cheat. There's a difference. It's two different letters.
It's two. It's great. So here's how Arenas tells it, quote, I respect Caron Butler's book, and I got my copy, but the guns in the locker room story is false in his book. Butler and I were asleep, and Javal McGee, Javaris Crittenden, and Earl Boykins were playing cards. By the time I woke up, Crittenden was balls deep in losing, so I decided that's great. Yeah. So I decided to join the game. Crittenden got booed, which means he didn't get back. Which means he did get one book of spades, so he had to match the pot, which was $1,100. But $800 was his, so he just lost $800, and the pot is now $1,400, and $1,100 of it is his. Javal McGee won the first $1,100 pot, so he scooped the money. Boykins asked Javal, "Can I get my $200 now since you have the money?" Javal said, after we land, I don't want to jinx myself. And Crittenden spazzed. Give that motherfucker his money. You just won my money, now pay him. So I jumped in and said, damn, dog, that's between the two of them. That's between these two motherfuckers. Uh-huh. He turned to me, Javaris turned to Arenas, and said, fuck you, motherfucker. So I responded, fuck you, you owe me $200, and I think you owe Caron Butler $300, but we ain't saying shit about it. What the fuck are you bitching about $200 for? That's what he said. So Crittenden pops off again. Oh, fuck you, motherfucker. You would try to money talk somebody. So now it's my deal. Earl said, I'm out. This game's getting a little too heated. Yeah. Boykins is out. Javal said, I don't need cards. Crittenden needs 5 new cards, so most likely he was about to match the pot once again. So I said, I'm out, knowing Javal had AKQ, Ace, King, Queen. So since it was Crittenden's money in the post, there was no need to fight if he was going to get booed. I showed my hand, and Crittenden got mad. I had 3 trump cards and didn't fight with him. So he screams, misdeal. Gil showed his hand. And Javal said, fuck that, I win. I have ace, king, queen. We're not misdealing shit. This is perfect. Crittenden tries to use misdeal as a way of starting the hand over, so I said, y'all figure that out. I walked to the back of the plane, and they stayed arguing. But Earl convinced them that Javal won. Crittenden yells loudly, fucking misdeal, so I yelled back, come get the... Come get this shit with your hands if you want to misdeal, he says. So, Jesus, this is hilarious on a fucking plane. So when the plane lands, he walks back talking tough, saying if we were in the streets, I'd pop you in your knees. Talking about Javaris talking to him. I said, shit, I'll give you the guns to do it on Monday. So it was Saturday. We had Sunday off. I get to the gym at Monday at 8 a.m., and I put 4 empty guns on his chair and with a note that said, pick one.
It's a pretty good prank.
He's just fucking with this dude.
Yeah, he's trolling him, and he's doing great.
He's just fucking with him. No one saw me touch a gun or put them there. When Crittenden came in, I was in the training room. Crittenden, Deshaun Stevenson, Andre Blatch, and Dominic McGuire were the only ones in the locker room when I walked in. So Crittenden said, "What's this shit?" I said, "You said you were going to shoot me, so fuck, there's some guns. Pick one," meaning pick the one you are going to shoot me with, like you said. Yeah. He said, "I don't need this shit." And that's when Caron, now in the room and a trainer, and so that's what he heard. He heard the end of it, Caron saying, like, pick one and I'll shoot you with it. Gilbert saying, I was telling him, if you're going to shoot me, here's your guns. Pick one, motherfucker. Yeah. I got 4 of them. Take the one you want and shoot me with it if you're so tough. So that was the point there. So he says Crittenden takes the guns off his seat and throws them on the floor, hitting the trainer's foot. He runs into the training room, and Crittenden pulls out a little silver gun that Eddie Murphy shot the pinky toe off with. LOL. It's a Harlem Nights reference. Shot Della Reese's toe off. Yeah. Shot off my pinky toe. So I'm not going to say that it was loaded or pointed at me. No need to bash a man who can't defend his name, because he was dead by the time this came out. Let's just say I started laughing, and he said, I started laughing and said, quote, "Put that Harlem Nights gun away, you." Look at the shit I'm giving you. Imagine what I have at home so you can keep those. That was it. He said that was the end of it. Okay. He said Javal picks up my guns and takes them to my car. Caron hides Crittenden's gun in the locker room. I love Caron. See, he even hid his gun for. Yeah. Let me hide this for you still.
You don't need,
because I would do that. Yeah. If that was you, I'd be like, yeah, we're taking this over here. I don't know where the fuck it is. I didn't see a gun. I don't know. Guns? No. I mean, he had like a pack of Bubblicious. I saw. I
saw something in his hand. It wasn't metal.
It was strawberry. If I can remember the flavor, it smelled good too. Arena said, I was in the jacuzzi, so Crittenden comes in with me, and we started talking. And he said I play too much, and then I told him that he was just a hothead. We started shooting around. They called Crittenden first to ask what happened. I was last, so the story became I pulled a gun and wanted to shoot Crittenden, but I owed him money, LMAO. I owe money, but I'm going to shoot you. So he said if he owed me money, I make $20 million, so I wouldn't pull a gun for $1,100. Yeah. That happened December 21st, and the story was told January 1st. Like I said, no one saw me touch, hold, grab, move, anything. The funny thing is, I got suspended 50 games, charged with a felony, and the only teammate Crittenden decided to call when he needed money for his mom was me, because he knows I won't hold a grudge against a teammate, and I gave him $60,000 for his mom's surgery.
Wow.
Crittenden. I sent money after he just said he was scared for his life, but I said, don't worry about me. I'll take the blame. What do you need? So he said, I regret making fun of him and calling his bluff. The same thing, or I do regret, the same thing I've done with Matt Barnes and Derek Fisher is the same shit I did with him that day. I wish him the best and I wish Caron Butler's book to sell out, but what I wrote is the real story. So I think Caron just wrote from what he saw. I don't think he made anything up. I just think he was on the periphery of it and didn't know the whole backstory. Right. And Gilbert filled it in the gaps.
Caron wrote his experience. That's what happened.
Gilbert Arenas was the Neosporin that spackled the wound closed there and just got it all set. So February 13th, the Wizards do make trades. They trade Caron, Brendan Haywood, and Deshaun Stevenson all to the Mavericks for Drew Gooden, Josh Howard, Quentin Ross, and James Singleton. So, he goes there that year. Now, he does make, by the way, Caron this year, $9,780,970. So,
he has
not
made
bad.
So much fucking money.
So much. During the same year, he and his wife, Andrea, were also given the Conversation Changers Award by the D.C. campaign to prevent teenage pregnancy. Wow. He went to South Africa as part of the NBA Without Borders delegation, along with several other players. He visited schools, did basketball clinics, talked with the youth about importance of following dreams and making good decisions. Absolutely. He also, and in his spare time, he also visited injured soldiers at the Walter Reed Medical Center in D.C. too.
What does he do?
Anything else he's just going to do that's nice? The city of
Superman, and like Superman, James, his kryptonite is green, and it's Mountain Dew.
It's Mountain Dew. I need it. Racine made a Caron Butler Day, and the NBA presented him with the NBA Community Assist Award. In 2008, the National Congress of Black Women awarded Butler the Good Brother Award. That's great. He's a good brother. Most recently, this is just from the article, Connecticut governor here proclaimed July 20th, 2009, Caron Butler Day.
What?
And named him 2009 Role Model of the Year. The Connecticut Middlesex County Chamber of Commerce named him Role Model of the Year.
Except for what he drinks with dinner.
Yeah. I mean, you almost, because he's doing so well. Yeah. Like, you feel bad for anyone who has his name that isn't him. It's different. I feel bad for all these people because they have to go, no, I'm not him. I'm a much less good person.
Yeah.
These people, like Caron Butler, who is an SD at SD. I don't know what that is, but he's in Delhi, India. So, not our guy. Caron Butler, field and education manager in Drums, Pennsylvania at Mansfield University.
Yikes.
Caron Butler, or more likely Caron Butler, analyst at FinTrue in Belfast. Caron.
Yeah.
and also Karen Armstrong, former customer service rec at Mannheim Fredericksburg Auto Auction in Fredericksburg, Virginia, as well. So there you go. She's Butler Armstrong is how that works. That's why she's on there. Okay. So anyway, 2010-11 with Dallas. They're a good team this year, 57-25. They beat the Blazers. They sweep the Lakers. They beat the Thunder 4-1. And finally, in 6 games, they beat the Miami Heat and become NBA champions. And Caron gets a ring as well. Why not?
Unbelievable.
He's a lucky guy. I'm going to say it. Regrace.
You bet.
Good for you. He climbed out of the grace hole all the way to now. This is great. And he stays at grace is the thing here. So that team, Jason Kidd was on that team. Sean Marion, Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Terry.
Team.
Great team with a great salary for him, as he makes $10,561,960 that year.
You bet.
Goddamn. Signs with the Clippers that offseason as a free agent. Let's see. They lose to the Spurs in the playoffs in 2011-2012. Vinny Del Negro, the coach there for them.
Really?
Chauncey Billups on that team. It's that whole fucking Kenyon Martin, you know that team. Yeah. So Eric Bledsoe, Blake Griffin. That's the guy. That year, he scores 12 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, 1.2 assists. He's playing about 29 minutes a game. He makes $8 million.
Wow.
Not too shabby.
That's the team that ruined Alonzo Bowden's joke that he used to wander around L.A. being tall and just tell people, I play for the Clippers, because nobody
knew that. Yeah.
Even I can't name 5 dudes that play for the Clippers.
Yep. I remember that joke. It's a good fucking joke. So he makes $8 million that year. Next year, 2012-13, he starts all 78 games he plays in. 24.1 points a game, so they're kind of platooning him, though. 10.4 points he scores and 2.9 rebounds. $8 million, though, so we'll take it. July 10th, 2013, 3-team trade. The Clippers give Caron and Eric Bledsoe to the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
And the Clippers trade a second-round draft pick to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks give J.J. Redick to the Clippers. The Suns trade Jared Dudley to the Clippers, and the Suns trade a 2014 second-round pick to the Bucks.
He played with the Suns here.
No, August 29th, 2013. About a month later, he's traded by the Suns to the Bucks. So, yeah, he never played with them, but they do pay his salary this year.
Got it. It feels like the Bucks were like, no, we wanted Caron too. And they're like, all right, you can have it.
All right, fine. We'll throw in this. Give us one of your foreigners. I don't know. So this year with Milwaukee and Oklahoma City, because he got traded in the middle of that whole deal, he scores 11 points a game for Milwaukee, 9.7 for Oklahoma City. So playing in the mid-20s for minutes. $8 million for him, though, there. 2014-15, he plays for the Detroit Pistons. So now he's on the Pistons. They go 32-50 with Stan Van Gundy coaching, who coached him back in the day. So he's coming full circle here. Let's see. This year, he for Detroit, 5.9 points a game.
Yikes.
plays 20.8 minutes a game. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. He's not starting. I know that. 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 rebounds, 1 assist per game. I don't know what's happening here, but in February...
12 years in the NBA, James.
I guess, yeah. Plus, he's doing all his goddamn charity work. Yeah. You can only do so much. You're going to South Africa worried about people getting knocked up. Worry about your fucking points per game, dude.
It's a lot of time zones you traveled through.
That's what I mean. So in the middle of the season in February, he's waived by the Bucks. So they just shit-can him.
By the Pistons?
By the Milwaukee. Oh, no, he's waived by the Bucks because that was 2014. Okay, yeah, wrong year. 2014-15's with the Pistons. Yes, he signs a 2-year contract with the Pistons. That's right. In 2014, he did all the things I just told you stat-wise. Discount otherwise. Okay. Now, makes $4.5 million too.
Not bad.
Now, he starts owning Burger Kings at this point.
May as well.
Since he worked at a Burger King, he said, quote, I once worked at Burger King in Racine. I know the business. I know it from the janitorial spot all the way through the management side. I know that game inside and out. So he bought 6 Burger Kings around the country. So he's got those. June 11, 2015, traded by the Pistons with Sean Williams to the Bucks. So June 30th, 2015, 2 weeks later, he's waived by the Bucks again. They just love waving him.
Crushing his dream.
Nope, never mind. July 21st, 2015, so about a month later, he signs with Sacramento, though. Okay. And also in 2015 is when he releases his autobiography, Tough Juice, My Journey from the Streets to the NBA. And in 2019, Mark Wahlberg signed on as an executive producer of the biopic of the Tough Juice movie.
I hate that, but good for him.
But it'll be a studio movie. It won't be like 4 of his friends making it anyway, so that's good. He'll get paid, I would assume. So 2015-16, playing with Sacramento, 33-49. They suck. George Karl's the coach. Vlade Divac is in charge of the whole operation. He plays in 17 games, starts 1. 10.4 minutes a game, 3.7 points per game. Not good here. It's over. $1,499,187 though. That's not over.
Sweet payday.
That's not over. That's pretty damn good. One of his main things that he does now is he's trying to end solitary confinement. Really? He's got a big thing. He's very active in this. He supported a bill that requires almost all inmates to be allowed 6.5 hours out of their cells and limits on use of certain restraints, which was this bill ended up being signed by Connecticut's governor. Mm-hmm. He talks about him being thrown into solitary and spending 23 hours a day there. And he said that none of the violence or other trauma in his life prepared him for the despair of that situation. He said, being in those 4 walls and those 4 corners, it does something to you, mentally and spiritually. It takes away a lot. It dehumanizes you. He said, my life up till that point seemed destined for failure. All the male role models in my family went through the penal system, incarcerated for drugs or guns or gang-related charges. They were all locked up at some point in my early years. I often wondered if everyone from my inner circle would be killed in the streets or die in prison. Uh-huh. So, he said... about this other thing he's talking about, he says, quote, this is about interactions with the police. Yeah. He said, quote, I'm going to tell you like this, as someone arrested more than 15 times in my life, I almost never had a positive interaction with police. Not just coming up either. Shit, I got pulled over when I was in the NBA already. This was the early 2000s, still living in Wisconsin. I got pulled over on a fucking bicycle at an intersection because they said I ran a red light, riding a bicycle. You get what I'm saying? And they tried to diminish me and embarrass me in front of the community by having me out there for more than 2 hours. I was like, just give me the ticket. And they're like, yo, where else do you have properties at? Just using their, quote, authority to give me the 3rd degree. The whole 9 of seeing just how much they could make this a public embarrassment for me.
Wow.
So it's understandable. Yeah. Nobody wants that shit. So 2016-17, he's done playing basketball now. That was his last year in Sacramento, but he still makes $517,220
for nothing.
They waived him, but they still got to pay him.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Awesome.
So he also that year participated with Global Mixed Gender Basketball, which is the first professional basketball league to support unified play between men and women. So it's co-ed basketball by being the color commentary for the games. He also owns a team in the league known as the Wisconsin Cheeseheads. He owns them. He joined 2017. He joined ESPN as a full-time college basketball and NBA analyst. The next year, he went to FS1. 2017-18, he made $517,220 from the NBA while doing all that other shit.
That's awesome.
That's not bad. 2018-19, he made $517,219 again, and for nothing. And, oh, wow. Bringing his career total to $84,676,523.
He's so rich.
Boom. Caron Butler, man. Talk about turning that fucking life around.
Unbelievable.
And in 2020, he got hired as an assistant coach for the Miami Heat, where he still is. So he's doing that there. Good. Yeah, he's doing really well. Can't get enough of Caron. Well,
watch Space Jam.
Watch Space Jam. You can go on eBay. They have I found a Miami Heat Butler jersey for $20, a Lakers one for $40.
Really?
You can find them. Yeah, they're on there. Or look into the Vera, VERA Institute of Justice, where apparently if you look at anything and inquire and enter your email to go in there and be able to look at their stuff, Caron Butler will email you back.
Is that right?
Apparently. Want to hear what he says?
Yeah.
He says, "It's Caron Butler here, trustee at the Vera Institute of Justice and assistant coach for the Miami Heat. I want to tell you a personal story about how interactions with police have affected my life and then ask if you will donate to Vera ahead of the end-of-year deadline. The first time I was picked up by police, I was 11 years old and in the wrong neighborhood, literally on the wrong side of the tracks in Racine, Wisconsin. I didn't have bus fare, so I walked home from school and I had to pass through a white neighborhood. To police, I didn't look like I belonged. As a teenager, it continued. I was arrested more than 15 times and detained countless others. Can you imagine the impact that has on a kid? Even in my second year after joining the NBA, the harassment continued. He said I'd get most of the time from traffic stops. They'd say there was something wrong with the car, or I was in, or they would find something even more frivolous. I had bought a nice foreign car to celebrate and was pulled over because the police wanted to check it out. They had never seen one like it before. That gave them all the cause they needed to detain me. As an individual story, one might say it's benign, but after you experience it that many times, you know that it isn't. It made me feel dehumanized. As a kid, I felt I should just run from police. I knew I would always fit the description. I was getting stopped, searched, and detained frequently for trivial reasons. Needless police stops for minor violations can be deadly. That's why Vera is working to eliminate these unnecessary traffic stops. For example, Vera partnered with John Choi, county attorney for St. Paul, Minnesota, to enact an important new policy. Choi's office will no longer prosecute cases against people who are stopped by police for minor infractions like driving with expired tags or dark window tint. I joined Vera's board because I could see that the work the organization is doing, researching and talking to communities about what needs to be done, really mattered. I hope you'll join me in supporting Vera's work to end mass incarceration and the legacy of racism in this country by making a donation today. Thank you, Caron Butler, trustee."
Great points.
Thank you, Caron Butler, for making such a crazy story. And that, everyone, is the story of Caron Butler. That, like we said, totally different than what we kind of usually do. He turns out to be a great guy. You know, once he said, "I'm done," he was done, and he was really put his head down and did nothing but good things. I figured, you know what? There's a lot of crime. Rather than just making it all later and talk about his nice childhood and then his basketball career, we'll do this, and we'll try to have a nice, uplifting story for the holidays for once. Everything we do is terrible and negative, and we love that. Don't get us wrong, but we thought maybe you might want just a nice story where you go, you know what? Maybe good things can happen in the world sometimes.
How about that, too? That Caron's been hassled when he doesn't have drugs, but when he did have drugs, they left him alone.
Mm-hmm. Now that he's got nothing, they're like, "Listen here, pal." Like,
now let's have a talk.
Now let's have a talk. Otherwise, you can just run away with your Isley Brothers tape and nobody got you. So that's Caron Butler. Crazy story. Like we said, much different. We're very much rooting for Caron Butler, and he's doing fucking great. Good for Caron Butler and all of that shit. So I guess stay off the dew would be the only thing you could tell him. But you know what? Sometimes you got to grab a dew. Grab one. Hey, Caron, the real sugar ones. I'm telling you, brother. Better. They're so much fucking better. You're going to love them. So try those.
Save them for Father's Day. Just have a cigar and a dew out by the pool.
You go.
You've got a pool. I guarantee you've got a pool.
Oh, he's got a pool. Yeah. He's definitely got a pool.
$80 million, no matter where he lives, he's got a pool.
He's got some kind of pool here. Wow. So there you go. If you enjoyed that story, let the world know. Tell everybody. Give us 5 stars on wherever you're listening. And by the way, you can give 5 stars on Spotify now, as they now allow ratings on their podcast. So please do that. That really does help drive us up the charts. Thank you for everyone who has done that. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. All sorts of merchandise, all sorts of everything. Tickets to live shows for the rest of the year. That's your hub of everything crime and sports and small town murder right there at shutupandgivememurder.com. Otherwise, too, follow us on social media. We're at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. You really, really need to get on Patreon. That's one thing. We cannot overexpress this. Patreon.com/crime and sports. We don't fuck around on Patreon. It's not bullshit. We're not filling time. That shit's funny. You're going to laugh your ass off if you listen to that. Or hear a really crazy, dark, something is going to be awesome. Trust us. We pack a whole show into a little bit less time and really fucking make it badass. So Patreon, if you're on the fence, I'm telling you, it's worth it. We have such a big back catalog, too. You'll be, we put out, 50-something episodes this year of bonus material, and we do that every year. So that you can't miss that. There's like 100 episodes you don't have on there. What are you doing?
It's all there.
More, get that. So patreon.com/crime and sports. Anybody over the $5 level or $5 or above gets access to everything. Crime and Sports Patreon, Small Town Murders Patreon, anything we record and put up, you are going to fucking hear it if you want to. But thank you for everyone that does that, because we really do appreciate all of your Patreon. Just your support, your faith in us,
it's unbelievable.
Means the world. So thank you for that. And, of course, thank you for your $5, too. Thank you so much. And some people give more, and thank you for that. You're amazing. Even people who give $1, thank you for that. Anything you do for us, we are more than grateful. So thank you. And if you want to just donate on PayPal, you can do that as well using our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com. And what you get for both of those things is a shout out.
Right.
You're going to get a wonderful shout out. Jimmie, do me a favor. Mm-hmm. Hit me with those names. Yeah. Do it. Hit me with those names like you're pulling a gun on me because I misdealt you. Hit me with them
Frozen Mountain Dew.
Like a frozen Mountain Dew right now, Jimmie.
This week's executive producers are Kevin Hoyt-all in Portland, Alicia Johnson, Goodwin, and Gabe. Happy New Year. Jen Visconti, Nilu Rafsanjani's around still.
Hey.
I hope she's doing well. She's in San Francisco. She's got to be doing well.
She's great.
She was going to move from there. I don't know if she did. Also, Jordan Bennett, suffering in cold fucking Canada. Jennifer Schaefer, Michaela Jarrett, I think. Nolan Betterman. Like Ice-T would say it, I guess, right?
Better man. Detective Better Man.
Kirchner?
Hey,
the real one died. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. Corporal Kirchner died?
Yeah, the real Corporal.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know
died
that.
this weekend.
Wow. He was a big star in Japan, too.
So now we only have one.
Well, you're the one now. Pick up the slack.
Also, Peyton Meadows, Rabbi Shmulovich and his wife Shitta Perlman, Mitch Kumstein, Burgermeister and Meister Burglar. Wait, Burgermeister, Meister Burglar. That's what it is. James Martyr, Larry Butterfast, happy birthday, buddy.
Hey, happy
Good
birthday.
to have you around. Kimberly Cooey, Joan Arndt, Kayla Lyons, Frank, the South African birdwasher. Happy birthday and happy New Year. He's a New Year baby.
Oh, well, happy both to you. Happy everything.
Chelsea Carver, Mike Bummunk, Erwin Lopez, Dorte Lenferschnick. What? That can't be a real name, is it?
Maybe.
Joseph Seipt, Laura Coach, Cockle, I don't know. Catherine Wilczowski, Janice Hill, Erica Tavecchio in Como, Italy. James, I called you Jamie.
Oh, well then.
Why would
Thank
I do
you for that? Appreciate that.
Bree Stewart, Charlie with no last name, Allison with no last name, John Jenkinson, Ralph Freilich, Tammy Covert, Benjamin Swanson, Leanne Finlay, Alana Salmon, Rousert, no last name, Emily Grillo, Claudia Lukenbach Bowman, Kaylani Wisdom, Andrew Colkert, Chris Kelly and Chris Riley, Jeremy Clausing, like Santa. Melody Hogan, Modern Viking, Tina Alwyn, Alexander Lee Klein, Joshua Nordman, Brent Chandler, Savannah Steffi, Reese
Jimmy
Burns.
Whisman.
Jeff with no last name, Allie Warnham, Ryan Bergen, Vanessa Maria Bello, Becky with no last name, Emily Daniels, Julie Rose, Stephanie Lee, Byron Einerson, Jesus, Annette Boyer, Brooke with no last name, John or Jean Johnson, Joni Knight Viverito, Martha Pickle Keaveney.
Sounds so confused.
This is exhausting. James Ray, Taya Wingert, Tracy Davis, Billy Newman, Theo with no last name, Diana Hedges Mayer, Michael Brumley, Liam McNamara, Jarrett McCoy, Larry Creek, Stephen Perrin, Eddie Nix, Zach Russell, I guess Terrier, Jermaine Jones, Audra with no last name, Cynthia Carraginides, Paul Lopez, Hannah Brown, Tom S., Noah Jude, Andy Stanford, Aubrey Lynn Chibata, Dane Green, Sarah Culin, Kelly Hodges, Anna Teresa Rodriguez, Latorni Lansden, Jennifer Hancock, Andrea Nelson, Quentin Eldridge, Kristen Butcher, Chris Johnson, Nicholas Jewell, Stephen Adams, Michael Johnson, TJ Hills, Emma Ward, Jeff Shepard. I did it both ways both times. Jeff Shepard, Michael Molly, Emma Ward, I said that, Mary Patton, Brandon Cole, BK2K, Teresa Rodriguez, Amy McKay, Bethany Scholten, Susie Lalonde, Parth with no last name, Brianna with no last name, Simon Chugg, Rebecca Gardner, Megan Condello, Tina Armstrong, Bobby G, Garrett Simpson, Kedrick Patterson, Andrea Mino, Christopher Vinton, Jason Forrest, Margaret Shields, Mackenzie Kelly, Becky Visser, Don Carlton, Izzy Mendez, David Payne, Jess Estes, I know Casco, Kasky? Kai Carlson, Matt Nelson, Nicole Kipker, David with no last name, Kate Benny, Terry Brock, Maggie Ziolkowski, Stephanie Cordova, Amanda with no last name, Andrew Patrick David, L. McComsky, Charlie P. I think it's Charlie M's brother, Charlie P.
Charlie fucking M. You made me pop your fucking eye out. For Charlie
fucking M. Jackie
fucking
Banks,
M.
Stephen Tresp, Brian Smith, Alexander Michael Franson, Daniel Johnson, and all of our patrons. You guys are fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. From the bottom of our hearts, honestly, we really do appreciate everything that you've done for us and continue to do for us. And thank you. We will continue to try to give the best shit we can to you and hope that you enjoy it. And thank you for everything you do for us. Jimmie, what if they wanted to thank you or tell you anything? Just say, hey, Merry Christmas, Jimmie. How could they do
me
that?
Online, and you can continue to do so.
Yeah.
If you Google the show, you'll find both of us, correct?
Yes, that's all you got to do. Google Crime in Sports Podcast. There's only one, and it's us. If you see another one with two other assholes, tell us, because I'll hunt them down like fucking Javaris Crittenden owes me money.
It's a
I'm
fight
gonna hunt
on
them.
site.
I will find on site. That's happening. So do that. Follow the show. Do everything. Tell your friends. Thank you for everything you do. Have a happy goddamn New Year.
Yes.
Live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.